Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Around the Indoor Football World, where, as always, we discuss the latest news in leagues like the NAL, the AAL, the AF1, the IFL, and the TAL. We also dabble in a couple other leagues, which we'll be getting into some WIF coverage over the next couple weeks, months, as they kind of kick off. But we got a lot to talk about today. And if you're tuning in because you saw a post on the Montgomery Catfish page, we will be making a very special announcement in about 15 minutes or so. So definitely stay tuned for that. But before we get into all of that, as always, got to start you off with a little bit of metal. All right. Once again, good morning. Thank you, everybody who's already tuning in. As always, we really appreciate all you guys being here with us every Saturday. It wouldn't be the same without you. But before we get into the content this morning, how's everybody doing this morning? Let's go to TJ first on this one.
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm ready for some playoff football today, and then some other big matchups, and then essentially a playoff game tomorrow. So it'll be a good weekend.
Absolutely. Lots of big storylines coming out of this weekend's matchups. Some great games that already happened, and we got a lot to talk about, like I said. So, Cody, how are you doing this morning, man? It looks like you're on the road again.
Yeah, not anything indoor football related. I'm in beautiful sunny St. Louis, Missouri for a concert tonight. If you don't listen to Poppy, go stream her music because it's amazing.
All right. That is a group I'm not super familiar with, so I'll definitely have to check them out. You and I typically have pretty similar tastes in music. So, Krish, my friend, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. Excited for a big opportunity tomorrow to get in the playoffs against Indy, and just step by step, day by day. So excited for it.
Absolutely. So, I wanted to start today's episode off with a little bit of a discussion about your interview that recently posted on Off the Wall, and I kind of want to just give you the floor. I mean, how did that all come together? I know you and Trey are friends. You talk often, but how did it come about that he decided to have you on for an interview about your media career and kind of how you've come up in the game so far?
Yeah, so he hit me up during the week and he said, "Do you want to be a guest?" And I thought he meant like come on and watch the game like we did last time, And so I was like, okay. So then he's like, "Oh yeah, we'll just talk indoor football." I'm like, okay. I thought he meant like over the game. And then he introduced me. I'm like, wow, like I'm being interviewed. Like I really made it. And I really feel honored that he had me on the show. I mean, my interview got more views than Stevie Johnson, Mike Davis, and Akil Grizz's interview, and J.R. Wells, and a bunch of others. So I'm one of the most viewed channel guests in history. Like, and I was really, happy. I told him, I said, I'll be the most viewed guest ever on your show. And I think that still, so I'm just trying to, elevate and, it's only the beginning for me. I got bigger, goals and dreams and aspirations that I will achieve. And yeah, it was a good way to reflect on everything. So.
Absolutely. And, honestly, I'll be honest, obviously, if you didn't know what was going on, we obviously did not know what was going on until it came out. I saw the post. I was like, hey, this is awesome. Obviously, I know the story because I was part of the conversation that brought you here and whatnot. But it was cool, like rehashing and kind of hearing that situation, like how you and I kind of met and how you ended up becoming a part of the network. And excuse me, here we are, almost 5 years later, and we're still trucking along. We've got the show that we've created and, built out a great team and stuff like that. So it was really cool to kind of remember how it all began and, how far we've come. So, congratulations to you on getting your chance to do an interview like that. I think it really kind of signals that there's a lot of respect for you around the industry. And I think that's well deserved. You've earned it. So it was awesome to kind of hear your story a little bit, and kind of, no offense to Trey, kind of would have liked to hear a little bit more about you, but I see what he was doing. It was a great interview. And it was overall just a really good episode. So if you haven't caught that, make sure you go check out Off the Wall FB on virtually every social media ever. And you can find that interview with Krish, which strongly recommend listening to it. It's a little over an hour long, great listen front to back. So.
Most definitely. And what was important to me, to obviously give you a shout out, but, to give our great leadership with the Orlando Mass Pirates, a shout out for kind of getting me introduced to the game of indoor football. I wouldn't be here without them. So I wanted to make sure I highlighted that throughout my, my interview. So most definitely.
Absolutely. And it was, I don't know if Jawad saw that, but I imagine when he does, he's going to be very honored to hear some of the things you said about him too. So it was a great interview. Like I said, definitely go check that out if you haven't already. Obviously, we all love to support Off the Wall here. Trey's here all the time for a reason. We got a lot of respect for him and what he does. So we're going to move on, and we'll talk a little bit about the TAL for about 10 minutes until our guest joins us, and then we will get into the big announcement for the morning. But obviously this past weekend in the TAL, we had the undefeated finally fall. Nebraska collected their first loss at the hands of St. Joe's this past weekend. So let's start there, and I will get the games pulled up so we can pull up all the scores, assuming they're actually on their social media this time. So let's go to Krish first. Any thoughts on that Goats versus a Siege?
Yeah, for Nebraska, it's been difficult, right? Ever since they lost their two starting quarterbacks with Espinoza and Lowe, both getting injured. So they pivoted to wide receiver, who's done a great job, at that wildcat kind of quarterback position. Ken Davis should not be playing in the TAL. Like, I know he was with Quad City previously. Keon Mosey was with Quad City. Ken Davis was with Jacksonville. So they're both there in Nebraska. So it's good to see, those two Miami, Ohio players, ball out consistently. It's one game. Like, it's a bigger game for St. Joe than it was for Nebraska at this point. They already have the playoffs locked up. So, it's going to be interesting. I do think these two teams will meet again, though. Most definitely.
Probably very, very soon. Cody, any thoughts on that game? Did you have a chance to catch it?
No, with all the traveling I've been doing, I haven't. But I did see the final score and was kind of surprised a little bit. But to Krish's credit, it's just one game. I don't think it makes or defines the season. If it's, a second loss, a third loss, fourth loss, whatever, then you start seeing some trends. Then you start raising your eyebrows a little bit about Nebraska. But at the end of the day, it's literally just one game.
Absolutely. TJ, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of puts St. Joe's in the conversation right up there with Arkansas and Nebraska as teams who you could see in the championship game. The Goats have been, I mean, I don't want to say wishy-washy because they're 5-2 going into today's games, but they played a little inconsistent. It was really good to see them as a team just take on the best team and actually compete and finish it off. So again, it kind of opens it up a little bit. It shows Nebraska is not perfect. They can be taken down.
Absolutely. And here are the scores from last week. As you can tell, it was a very close game between St. Joe and Nebraska. And honestly, it was a really, really fun game to watch. So I highly recommend anybody who hasn't watched it to go back and watch that one. As you could tell, the rest of the games this past weekend were a little bit lopsided. A little bit of a surprise there. Ozarks defeats Arkansas 63-30. I think most of us probably had Arkansas winning that game. Eau Claire, unfortunately, still has not found their first win. Iowa beat up on them pretty good. Monroe got a little bit of revenge for some of the stuff that was said earlier in the season, and they went out and put a whooping down on Memphis, 46-18. Any other thoughts on any of those games? Let's go Krish first.
So Ozark, Arkansas doesn't tell the full story. I mean, good win for Ozarks, but Arkansas, they signed a quarterback and they signed a quarterback the day of and put him in the game. So I don't really fault them. Arkansas and Coach Bones will be fine. Again, it's just one game. They're 5-2. They play tonight for the South Division Championship against Monroe, which they already said they won, by the way. But they clearly don't do their background research before putting out social media posts. Eau Claire is terrible. I've been saying that all year long. Like, I like the head coach. He's a nice guy, but nice guys in this industry, they finish last consistently. So, I mean, that's just reality. Look across the board. Iowa, they haven't been good all year. So, it's a big win for them. St. Joe, Nebraska, we spoke about. Memphis, their lack of experience against semi-pro guys playing pro football. They've been really good all year long, but they also have a lot of injuries. So the main pro guys, the staples, like Donald Gary, he's from Mississippi State. He's out with an injury. They have other key starters out. So that's why you see them kind of falling off a little bit. They need to get healthy and get right. Otherwise, they're going to get destroyed in the playoffs. So it's been a really bad collapse for Memphis over the last 4 weeks. And I hope they can get it together because it's a great market. But for Monroe, what a win. I mean, we were talking on the show about Terry Bowden, and how he would, adjust to the indoor style or the flag football style of play, flag football indoor style of play. And he's done a great job. So him and Timmy McClain and co, great win for them in Monroe. And I'm excited to see them in the playoffs against Arkansas. For sure.
Cody, any other thoughts about these games?
Yeah, I mean, it does look a little surprising when you see the score of Ozarks and Arkansas, but we're also starting to see a little bit as a logjam towards that bottom half of the standings. Ozarks getting 2 wins, but then you've also got Monroe, Memphis, and Iowa all right there too. So it looks like what you're going to see here in the next coming weeks is either it's all going to kind of sort itself out. They're really going to see this like conglomerate just fight for the playoff spots, and that gets a little exciting, to be brutally honest with you, to see how these teams are going to move and shake their way to whatever seed they're going to get.
Absolutely. And Dorsey Golston chiming in, meet again next week, and seeding is at stake. So that's going to be a very interesting matchup once again. The Goats have an opportunity to kind of leapfrog Nebraska there here at the end, kind of controlling their own destinies despite some early losses. So good on them for making things work down the stretch. And interesting how they've employed their quarterbacks this season so far. So TJ, any thoughts on any of these games? Also, thank you for sending me the graphics, sir. I appreciate it.
No problem. Yeah, I mean, it was another tough week if you're an Axeman fan. It was another game where early on they kept it close, and then it kind of just got away from them. I mean, I'm not going to lie, man. Watching the Axemen kind of reminds me of my season with the Steelhawks, because it's just like, man, every bounce that can go against you, guaranteed it will. It just, after a while, you have to feel bad for them. But Iowa really turned it on in the second half, forced them into errors, capitalized on all those, bounces that went against the Axemen, and they ended up pulling away big time. St. Joe's, like we already touched on, they have shown that, they can compete when it comes playoff time, and they're in control of their own destiny. So it will be interesting to see how they do today.
Absolutely. And before we get to our guest, let's go ahead and pull up the games coming up this weekend. So these are the games we've got coming up this weekend. We've got St. Joe at Eau Claire, Monroe at Arkansas, Ozarks at Memphis, and Nebraska at Iowa. So it looks like these are some pretty crucial games for most of these road teams. Obviously, Nebraska needs to make sure they get this win today to kind of keep as much of a lead as they can on St. Joe. If St. Joe slips against Eau Claire, that could have obviously dramatic repercussions on their seeding. Monroe and Arkansas, that could be the game of the week this week. You got 5-2 Arkansas, 4-3 Monroe. Monroe has a chance to potentially even up the score there and put themselves in position to get the first seed. Ozarks 2-5 against 3-4 Memphis. They're still kind of hoping they can turn things around here at the end of the season. So lots of good games coming here for the TAL. And obviously, as you can see there, you can watch all these games live for free on YouTube this weekend. So any other thoughts or any picks for us? So let's go around the board real quick. Krish, who do you have in these games this week?
So, okay, St. Joe will put belt to Eau Claire. Monroe and Arkansas for number 1 seed in the South Division of the TAL. I feel like Arkansas will get it done at home. Coach Bowens and them, I believe they're undefeated at home this season. Or no, they have 1 loss. to St. Joe in the first week of the season. But other than that, they're undefeated. Ozarks at Memphis. Memphis gets back on track, gets the win, and Nebraska beats Iowa pretty good. So that's about it.
Cody, who do you have this week?
I mean, copy and paste it for Krish. I think St. Joe gets the win on the road. I do like Arkansas at home, but I wouldn't be shocked if Monroe does pull the upset on the road. We'll see how that goes. Because again, you look at those playoff seedings; both those teams can go to 5-3, and I mean that can make it really, really interesting. Same thing, kind of with Ozarks and Memphis. I mean, they're kind of fighting for their playoff lives a little bit too. Ozarks gets the win; they go to 3-5. Memphis drops to 3-5. I don't necessarily see it, but again, stranger things have happened, but give me Memphis with that. And then, the Sunday slate, give me Nebraska over Iowa when it comes to that as well.
TJ, real quick, sir, who do you have this week?
I have Eau Claire with the massive upset. And then after that, I have Arkansas, Memphis, and Nebraska.
Awesome. We are going to transition real fast. We'll hit a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with our first guest of the day, which, as we all know, is the first inaugural head coach in the history of the Montgomery Catfish organization, who will be taking the reins for the Catfish in 2027 for their first season in the American Arena League. So before we get to that, quick commercial break, and we'll be right back.
How many times a week?
Like three, four times maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Good morning, Coach Gregory. Thank you so much for joining us. And let me be the first to congratulate you on the new position with the Montgomery Catfish. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Very excited to have you here with us today. Obviously you've been a guy who's been on the show multiple times, kind of a friend of the network, so to speak. So we're very excited to see you named as the first head coach in the Montgomery Catfish history. What does it mean to you to get this opportunity?
It means a lot to me. Being one of those guys that pioneered the game, one of those guys who truly, made plays at a high level as a player, and also, being able to transition into a coach and be able to give back and teach guys the game and, preparing them for the next level. So it's a big opportunity. I'm excited. I'm ready to get to work. I'm already working on my staff. Just got a lot of stuff going on. So everything good right now.
Absolutely. Before I kick these questions over to TJ and Cody, I wanted to ask, obviously, we know about the partnership between the AAL2 and the AAL. And obviously the goal is always to develop people, players, coaches, cheerleaders, whatever it may be. Each individual is there to make themselves better as a person, in their specific role. And now you've kind of opened up the door for coaches to make that leap now. So last season you worked as the offensive coordinator with the Carolina Predators, or this past season, I should say. It's still, very recent. And now you get to make that jump to the AAL as the head coach for the Catfish. So what does it mean to you to kind of open that door and so build that bridge, so to speak, for the Catfish faithful and then also the AAL2 players and coaches?
I mean, it means a lot, man, being able to, be called up and, somebody take a chance on you for seeing the work that you done put in. It just shows you that anything can happen, like from a player standpoint, from a coaching standpoint. You just got to keep your head down. You got to keep working. You got to keep putting your best foot forward. And somebody's watching. Like when they tell you somebody's always watching, somebody's always watching. So just keeping your head down really and doing what you're supposed to do and being where you're supposed to be to take advantage of your opportunity. Absolutely.
And that's a phrase we use around here a lot. You never know who's watching. So you got to make sure you're on your P's and Q's. TJ, do you have anything for Coach Gregory?
Yeah, first off, congratulations, Coach. Well deserved. I wanted to ask, you've been around the game for a long time, being, hearing and looking back at, the old AFL, AF2, and now kind of getting to relive it with the AAL repeating that kind of umbrella parent league system. How awesome is it to be a part of that? And how far do you see it going as a whole for the sport?
Well, first off, I'm super extremely proud and blessed to be a part of that. Being that I came from the lower level. For those who don't know, my first team was the Carolina Force and the Charlotte Speed. So I came from the lower level to achieve the goal of making it to the highest levels, in which I did. I think what they got going on with the partnering system, as far as the AAL and the AAL2 teams, I think it's a good system. It gives guys a chance to learn the game at the lower level and get promoted within. It gives jobs. It brings entertainment to the cities. It gives a lot of, different things to do in the areas. So with that being said, just always, making sure you got your film, making sure you in shape, making sure you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be. So when these calls come, you ready. Just for instance, the AF1 had a few teams that was looking for players for the playoffs, and just being ready when your number called at all levels. It just don't matter about the AAL or the AAL2. It's just about taking advantage of your opportunity. But I do think what the AAL and the AAL2 is doing is of using the sister brother model will go a long way, because you have a lot of teams in smaller markets that's not going to really get the notoriety or the eyes on them, and Cersei that they should. So having a pro team in a slightly bigger market would bring those eyes not only to the AAL teams but the AAL2 teams as well.
Makes perfect sense. Cody, anything for Coach Gregory?
Yeah, I got a couple. First of all, can you take us through not the interview process, but what was the feeling like when you got the call saying that, hey, you are the guy, you are going to be the first ever head coach of the Montgomery Catfish? And then to follow up on that, what is your first priority as the head coach if you haven't already done it already?
Well, for your first question, when I got the call from, the ownership group, which has been amazing, the conversations has been, out of this world. I like the support that they give me. They truly entrusted my vision and what I had and what I wanted to do. And it's like a beautiful partnership, because the things that they want to do is also aligned in what I want to do. So that call out, it was easy. Like I said, ownership so far has been great. Every conversation we've had has been, progressive, talking about what we want to do. And to answer your second question, I think the staff that I'm gonna assemble, it's going to shock a lot of people, because I'm going after guys, that not only had playing experience, but also has coaching experience or looking to get into coaching coming out of playing. I'm going to surround myself in the city with guys that, first of all, know what Montgomery is about. Second of all, willing to accept Montgomery as Montgomery accept us. And it's just going to be no nonsense, all work type of mentality and attitude at all times.
Krish, just in time, sir. I wanted to see if you had any questions for Coach Gregory.
Yeah, Coach, really excited for you and your new opportunity. One question I have.
I can't hear you.
Julius, can you hear me? Let me hit a quick commercial break. We'll see if we can't get Julius's audio back. We will be right back.
How many times a week?
Like three, four times maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
All right. Sorry about the issues. We'll see if we can't get Coach Gregory right back on. And there we go. Sometimes, for some odd reason, StreamYard decides to trip out. Can you hear us okay now, Gregory?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly fine.
Awesome. Okay, Krish, go ahead with your question, sir.
What's up, Coach? Good to see you, man.
What's going on, Chris? Going on? Good to see you.
But, I'm really excited for you and your opportunity. My first question for you is kind of like building the roster. What caliber of players are you trying to go after, would you say?
Caliber player that I always had to go after, man. Somebody who's going to represent themselves first and foremost as an individual. That somebody that I don't have to worry about, in the city. Somebody that I ain't got to worry about, getting in trouble, being where they supposed to be, no character issues. Guys that's hungry, guys that's looking to, make that leap to the next level. I'm looking for guys straight out of college, with some pro experience or either, even with no experience, because I feel like as the coach I am and the staff that I'm gonna assemble, we can teach anybody to play the game with the knowledge that we're gonna bring. That's what's gonna separate us from a lot of other staffs that we bring. I'm bringing over maybe probably 20 plus years of arena experience that a lot of people don't even know because I don't, talk a lot or I don't be on the scene a lot, but me and my staff gonna come with a lot of experience, and the players and type of, people we're gonna work is gonna match the city that we're coming to. Hard work, low, no nonsense, straight to business. Pretty much I want players that's gonna match the Montgomery fields. Guys that can come into Montgomery and, accept that as home and live like we from Montgomery. That's no tough work, no nonsense, nice blue collar people, just get in where we fit in.
Obviously, as we mentioned before, you came straight out of the AAL2 to get this opportunity. So do you anticipate signing or looking at any AAL2 players for 2027?
Absolutely. It's a lot of guys that I've had my eye on. Even when last year when I was coaching, I was a couple of guys I was like, oh, this kid can play. It's a lot of guys I've had my eye on, not just from, the AAL2. I've been looking at guys at the TAL. I've been looking at guys from the NAL. Like I have a plethora of players or, platforms I can pull from with my experience and the relationships I have made. It's just making sure you're the right fit for what we're trying to do in Montgomery.
Absolutely. TJ, do you have anything else for Coach Gregory?
Yeah, obviously being around the game for a while, you've had a decent amount of, coaches over your career. Are there any that you kind of have taken lessons from or maybe their styles from that you're going to incorporate being a head coach this year?
Oh, man. Of course. But my list is extensive, man. Like I got Coach Clint Dozell that I can reach out to. I got, Aaron Garcia. I got a lot of guys that I've, touched or came across with from the AAL or arena space that's Hall of Famers themselves. So I got a Rolodex of people that I can call and really lean on or, get some type of mentorship from. Now I will say people from certain situations, like people like Brandon and Grown, I always reach out to him. That's one of my guys. He'll always be family to me, no matter whether he's coaching or not. If I got some stuff I want to know business-wise, I can reach out to Ricky. So it's like I got a great, resource-based background where I can use or get in touch with anybody I would need to get anything done I would need to get done. And like I said, that list goes from NFL reps to CFL reps, UFL reps, AFL reps. So I got an extensive group of people that I got in my corner.
Absolutely. Cody, do you have any more questions for Coach Gregory?
Yeah, just a quick last one to touch on. With being in Montgomery, how do you intend to incorporate the community into it? How are you going to get that community to rally behind the team, get fans out to the game? What is your plan for all that? I know it's not on you necessarily as a head coach, more or less ownership and all of the stuff they do, but I'm assuming you're working hand in hand with them. So what's your goal when it comes to that to make sure that, the fans can pack the arena?
Being present. Being one of those coaches that's not all, that's not too egotistical or it's not too big to go out and be in the community. I'm heavy on community outreach work. So when I get to Montgomery, I will be out in the community. I'm going to the rec games. I'm going to the high school games. I'm going to local businesses. I'm volunteering. So I'm gonna show Montgomery that the guy that they hire is the guy for the job. And the way it's not so much getting them to, fill the seats, it's making them feel like we're a family. Like this whole fans included is a family atmosphere. So we're gonna be one of those teams where you can pack your whole family up. You can bring them to the event. We're going to show you love. We're going to give you some good entertainment, and it's going to be respectful. So just being present, working with the ownership group hand in hand on, showing these people that I'm not just a coach who's going to be there, short term. I'm invested as long as they invested in me, and I'm willing to do anything to show that.
I love that answer. That's a great answer, and I'm sure Montgomery fans are going to love to hear that as well. I'm going to leave you with one more question. When this process began for you and you started to realize that you had interest, I mean, was this something that you had always kind of prepared for, knowing it would come at some point? Like, did you have a staff like already in mind in terms of some of the coaches you wanted to bring with you, stuff like that? Or did it catch you off guard? Or, I mean, like, I guess I was just, what it boils down to, were you expecting to get head coaching interest this early in your coaching career?
Absolutely. I always knew I had the tools and intangibles to do it. It was really just having people believe in me, that I could do it. Like I said, what Negron did for me last year in the midst of everything that was going on in Omaha was, kind of like a shining light on showing people what I'm capable of from a cerebral standpoint. And the crazy thing, a lot of people look at me as an offensive guy. A lot of people don't know my very first coaching job in arena, I was a defensive coordinator. So, I bring a lot of aspects to the table that, like I said, a lot of people don't understand or don't know because I don't talk about it or flaunt it around. And then as far as looking at certain guys, I got at least 8 or 9 guys I was looking at as far as coaches, as far as, player personnel guys that I want, would be around my team as far as helping me find, great talent, someone that can come in and help with ownership and game day operations and stuff like that. But like I said, anything and everything I pretty much need, I'm pretty sure I can find in Montgomery somewhere. So this is a call. Well, Montgomery, I need you.
I love that. So obviously I imagine tryouts and stuff like that will be coming very soon.
Yes,
but
sir.
Obviously Alabama, kind of a hotbed for football talent. So I imagine there's going to be a large local focus on the roster this season.
Yeah, it is. It would be we definitely want to give a chance for the local guys. Then it is Alabama, a dominant football state. We want to definitely get those guys an opportunity to come out and showcase what they got. But all you got to do is stay tuned, stay locked in at MontgomeryCatfish.com for all your alerts, updates, stuff that's coming soon, staff signees, player signees, ownership announcements, coach announcements. You just got to stay locked in and stay tuned, man. It's that time. I know, football feel like it's so far away with the NFL and all that stuff, but man, it's time to lock in on the indoor game and really give the indoor game its due. Like the indoor game is something that I would say, being that I've played professionally outdoor and indoor, is something like, from a fan's perspective, you will never be able to go to another sporting event and be able to interact with your favorite players, all game, be able to go out on the turf and get an autograph. That's just something that you're not going to be able to do in those other leagues. Like you got people who's been NFL fans majority longer than they've been living, and they can't tell you one time that they've had a chance to even say hello to their favorite player. So I think the arena space has always been a space where it's more than just football. It's more about family-oriented vibes. It's more about, being together. It's about cohesiveness. And if you have that from a fan base standpoint, a front office standpoint, coaching standpoint, player standpoint, they're the teams that win championships. And that's what I'm looking to do. Not saying it's going to be this year. I would definitely want it to be this year, but don't by any means think we're going to be a pushover. Like, please don't do that mistake and think that, because Coach Gregory's new, that the Catfish is going to be a homecoming game. Please don't do that, because it's not going to go the way you think it's going to go.
I love that. I love that message. And let me just say from firsthand experience, ownership wants to win and they want to win yesterday. So very excited about how they've approached this offseason. But TJ, do you have any more questions for Coach Gregory?
I have one more, but it's more of an ask or a comment, man. If/when the Catfish come out with mini helmets, let me know. I want one right away. Because those helmets are awesome, man.
Oh, I gotta get me one too. I told boss lady I gotta get me one. As soon as the first one get printed up, that gotta go in the office, right on the desk. Like that. I gotta have one of those.
Yeah, that's a killer design, man.
Yeah, they did their thing with that. Her and Chris definitely, put some blood, sweat, and tears into that logo and the team colors. Like I said, everything that they didn't put into it is a staple of what Montgomery is about. For people who don't know, it's the River City. Like the Catfish run. The name Catfish runs deep. Anybody from the South understands, what a catfish is. It's not just, a bottom dweller. It's a hard worker. It's somebody that no matter what, is not gonna make no excuses. It's somebody that's gonna always put their best foot forward and smile with doing it and take the licks on the chin and keep moving. You got to understand this is the birthplace of the civil rights movement. So you got to understand they walk different, they talk different, and you just got to be able to match their attitude.
Love that. A little bit of a history lesson this morning. Yeah. Cody, any other questions for Coach Gregory?
No, TJ stole mine. I just wanted a mini helmet too.
So that look like that's 4 helmets we're going to have to send out because I know Krish going to want one.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a couple behind me. I would like a Catfish one at some point for sure. But I wanted to leave you with one more question. Where can fans catch your guys' games this year? I mean, obviously streaming on YouTube, but do you know where you're going to be playing this season?
Well, we're looking at the venue. We like to do things, differently. So we're not going to, blast everything. But what you can do, like I said, for all updates from the venue, from tryouts to, the staff, to everything Catfish is doing, please go like, follow, subscribe, MontgomeryCatfish.com. We got everything up there you need to know from, the breakdown of how we're going to do stuff. Right now, we're in the 3rd quarter, so that's why I was announced. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. We got the, the merch and stuff that's about to drop. We got, the schedulers and all that stuff that got to be made once, all the teams, come in and get situated. So just stay tuned to the Catfish, MontgomeryCatfish.com, and get all your Montgomery Catfish news from myself and from ownership.
Absolutely. Coach Gregory, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for being with us to make this announcement. We were very excited to be able to be a part of this announcement, and we're looking forward to the future for you. Wishing you nothing but luck. But before you get out of here, I wanted to give you the floor to shout out anybody you want, say words to fans, whatever you may want to say before you get out of here.
Man, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity, to become the first head coach of the Montgomery Catfish. I want to thank Sam and his group, man, for always welcoming me with open arms. I want to thank Shady Sports, man, for being around doing something that a lot of people don't do, and that's being able to take the nicks and bumps on the chins and still keep giving us great content year after year after year, man. I want to commend y'all for second. And other than that, I want to say the ownership in Montgomery, fear the fan, baby. We coming.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to the future.
Man, I love y'all guys. Take care, man.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Once again, that was head coach Julius Gregory, now hired by the Montgomery Catfish to lead them into their inaugural season in 2027. As he said, fear the fin. Fear the fin. So very excited about Montgomery. Obviously, they look the part. They have one of the best helmet designs already in the game, and they haven't even played a game yet. So love that design. Love the
hire for them. I was in Montgomery last year, so I have a good idea about the market and stuff. And I feel like, he's gonna do. Deuce is gonna do great things down there. I mean, he's gonna be one of the top teams in the American Arena League. I think they'll beat Jersey, beat up on Wheeling. Like, I feel like they'll be a high level team. So,
well, from what I hear, from what I've been told, they're going to have no shortage of resources. They're going to take care of their players, and they're going to take care of their coaches pretty well. So I'm very excited about their future.
You really think the Texas Wild Hogs, Dogs, whatever, or North Texas team can even step foot on the field with a team coached by Deuce? Like, you're funny. So, stick to something.
We'll see.
This is a pro player and a pro coach. These other guys are semi-pro guys. So there's levels.
Well, keep in mind, he did just come out of the AAL too. I know that, Coach Gregory obviously has has played for a very long time at a very high level. But at the same time, he's got modest roots as well in his coaching career. So while we are obviously all fans of him here and believe that he's going to do a great job, we play the games for a reason, right? You never know. There's, like, he mentioned Omaha a couple times. They were 0-5 to start the season. None of us saw that coming, and look how it turned around for them, So, at the end of the day, play the games. You got to play the games. So
I would argue, though, at the American Arena League level, it's very predictable. You know what I mean? Like,
can be.
Some of the other levels, it's hard to, because there's so much parity. In the American Arena League, they're not parity yet, and that's the key word. And that's what
I was gonna say. It's hard to develop parity when there's only 4 teams in a league, right? So I think there's always going to be your haves and your have-nots. I think Cody talks about this a lot. There's always going to be teams that are the bottom feeders. There's always going to be teams that are the elite. And I think my thought process here is that the more teams you have, the more parity you're going to have immediately, because you're going to have more teams that are middle of the pack, more teams that are elite, more teams that are bottom. Maybe your bottom teams, get a little bit better year over year, and then eventually the parity grows that way too. So I think the way the AAL sits right now is a really good place for year 2. There's still room for improvement, obviously. I think every league could and should say that every year. But at the same time, I believe that they have a very good grasp on what they need and what they want for year 2. So we'll see, how things go, obviously, but I'm encouraged so far by what some of these expansion teams are doing so far. But any other thoughts about the AAL, this hire, anything else that's come out news related to them?
I think it's a really, really good hire. I do. To get someone as notable as Julius Gregory in here with the indoor and arena and all the experience that he has had through the years, to have someone notable like that be one of the head coaches, and that's not a knock on any of the other AAL teams, but to hit the ground running like that, to make a splash like that, knowing, kind of to Krish's credit, like, we don't necessarily know what's going on with Ohio. We don't necessarily know what's going on with North Texas or San Antonio. They just haven't announced it yet, because they just got announced themselves not too long ago. So to have something like this to really bring a little bit of notoriety to the league, to the team itself, it's really, really nice to see what the AAL is doing, what Montgomery itself is doing. And like I said, it does bring a little bit of like, oh, okay, they're doing things over here. Let's put our eyeballs to what the AAL is doing.
And one thing I want to point out too, last point on this, is I want to give credit to, our boy Mike Davis. Last week, something you put out this morning about, first year coaches and being trusted with expansion franchises in the indoor football league. Like, they might not be ready to lead an IFL team, but they can start here and build up a profile. Because if you do stuff the right way, which I believe he will, it can translate to anywhere. Right? So it's a good, opportunity for young coaches. And I think that's what the American Arena League needs to market itself as a home for younger coaches to kind of start their careers.
I think that would be a good idea, but at the same time, they ought, this is, how do I want to put this? So they're obviously not trying to be a launching point for coaches just to go to other leagues, right? Unless it's, maybe outdoor leagues. So, obviously you want to position yourself to hire young coaches. You want to bring people up. You want to elevate people from the AAL2 and stuff, but you also don't want to be like, hey, come become great with us and then go elsewhere type situation either. So you have a point. I do think this is a perfect place for younger coaches to come in, grow as a coach, kind of develop themselves, and then, see where their career can go from there. But I would like to see some of these guys, come in, get a job, and stick for a long period of time. Like if Julius Gregory can follow a similar trend to, Damian Daniels in Columbus, where he kind of jumped right into coaching, worked his way up, hit a head coaching position, and basically has just been the guy for Columbus since then. That would be a great trajectory for him as well. So some of these jobs are hard to come by. So it's one of those things where you gotta realize you can be where your feet are type thing. But any other final thoughts?
For me, the AAL, man, I don't think it's really a launching point for coaches, or it will be. I think the AAL, man, themselves are building up to be one of the main leagues at this point. We talked about lack of parity, but they had 4 teams started on the ground floor this past season. All 4 teams made it. Now they're doubling it for next season. All the teams seem to have good followings, good reports coming out for the most part. I mean, I think this league, they're building a skyscraper here in this league, and it's just getting started. So if you can get in on the ground floor right now, like all these coaches and players are, man, you could be set up for your career.
Agreed. Tony O'Neill checking in. Thanks for being here this morning. Appreciate that. Roger checking in. Every league has teams that are not the greatest. Our championship game is as exciting and competitive as any league. And I would agree. And like I said, adding more teams is always going to make the league more competitive. There was an obvious gap this year, but to be fair, 2 of those teams were coming up from the AAL. Two of those teams were coming down, or not coming down, but are joining the league after many, many years of professional football, or many years of professional football. So we got to keep that in mind when we're considering the talent gap and how the season broke down as well. But any other thoughts on the AAL before we move on to the next topic at hand, or the next league at hand? Awesome. All right. Well, Krish, is there a specific league we should jump to next?
I think we should talk about we should save the best for last and talk about the IFL last. I think we should go to the National Arena League and talk about, Colorado and Fred Shaw and everything like that.
Sounds good.
And my list too,
All right. We could do that. All right. So quick commercial break. We'll be right back to talk about the NAL, and we'll see who might pop in. All right, so let's get into the National Arena League. Obviously, as Krish just mentioned, there is a rather big piece of news coming out of Colorado, as Fred Shaw has announced that he and the Spartans will be parting ways moving forward, and he is looking to his next opportunity. So obviously, Krish has been posting coaching candidate graphics over the past couple of weeks. There's been a lot of names listed on, these openings, or for these openings, and many of them have been, experienced coaches. Some of them have been up and comers. So, Krish, who did you put on your Colorado graphic, and who do you feel is probably the favorite for the job as of right now in a vacuum?
Yeah. So the way I did it was guys who have connection to the Midwest and guys who would be budget hires. A budget hire is someone you can hire for cheap. And you don't have to break the bank to get them, or someone who really wants to get back in the game, who might be desperate for the next opportunity. Some of it's hit or miss, right? You never know what, every guy's situation is, for full transparency, since we, we don't do research, and we don't reach out to people, and we just make stuff up, because people like to spread that. I reached out to Tony Thompson and I asked him, what teams he played for, because I wanted to connect the dots and try to see. He didn't answer my message. So I just had to go, off of what I thought. I think James Terry is a great fit for that job. You know, he coached over in Pueblo. He knows the Midwest. He's a Kansas State legend. He's a young coach, and I feel like he fits what they're looking for in Colorado. Now, if they want someone that can do sales, you know, Chris Hemphill from New Mexico is a good option, right? But they need to identify what they're looking for. Do you want someone to do sales? Do you want someone to coach, right? Because Fred Shaw, you know, he lived in Oklahoma, so he was just coaching. But now, this time around, like, do you really want someone, you know, Negron? We thought it was all going to be Negron, but he said he retired from pro football. So we don't know who it is at this point. And so that's what the list was. And I'm just, you know, the biggest thing for me is to give these guys shine and to give them a platform to be mentioned. You know, viewership-wise, I mean, my 3 lists I put out got more views than the NAL Facebook page has gotten all year. So, I mean, it's a good way for these candidates to be highlighted. And I know why some people are salty because they're like, how did he do it? But, you know, I just know how to drop bangers, man. Call me Mike Jack, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry, but that was hilarious. How does he do it?
They said, Krish, how do you do it? I have the greatest list, the best list in the whole world.
Nah, he does it by not doing his research, you know, by not doing research and just saying whatever he wants randomly and make stuff up without double checking. You know, that's how that's what we do, right? Where is he at? No, he's not watching. Okay.
We won't get into that too much. Man, that was hilarious. I can't even get over that.
Even like with my Omaha Beef list, I reached out to the owner 3 times, no response. So like, how do you know what I mean? Like, what am I supposed to do? You know, I made the list. I wanted his thoughts, no response, right? But it's like, what you know, like I would love to have like, you know, criticism. You're the guy picking the candidate. Give me something to, okay, hey, like this is what I agree with. This is what I know. You know, this is what I'm looking for. I just went off history of who I thought would be, you know, a good fit for that job. But the Colorado job was the hardest. That was the hardest list to do, you know, because it's like, what are they looking for? I don't know. You know, Dallas already has their head coach too. Really?
All right.
Really? I see 3 unread messages.
Oh my God. All right. We're not going to get into this. Regardless. Okay. I was going to say, Krish, there's probably some reasons why.
No, hold on. He did respond. No, let me clarify. I don't want to look like an idiot. He did tell me what he was looking for, right? But he didn't tell me what, like, he thought of my list. That's what I meant. So let's clarify that.
Okay. That makes more sense. But okay. So regardless, what I was going to say is there might be some reasons why he's not giving you all the information at this point. I'm just saying, like, yeah, we all know what it is if you're on this show. So let's not act like we're completely clueless here, Krish.
I know who the Dallas coach is because I figured it out, you know, someone who was Beaumont. But that's why I put Solo on the list because I really thought they were going to hire Solo. But
so did I. That was my immediate thought.
Crazy.
To be fair, he did point out that he was incorrect. So, I mean, like I said, it regardless, there's reasons why there was probably not a ton of information or response there.
Yeah, I know you don't want to blow your cover. Like, I get that. I wouldn't want to either, but
regardless, it's up to him. It's obviously his team and who he wants to hire, obviously. So if he wants to tell you, cool. Not, oh, well, that's part of being in media. You know, we can't always get all the answers ahead of time, you know, especially when we may or may not have poured gasoline on a bridge and lit fire to it. So, you know, there's times when it's we're probably not going to get that information. You know, it's one of those times. So, well, I appreciate you watching. So, on that note, all right. So we talked about Colorado. Let's go around the horn real quick. TJ, who do you think ends up with the Colorado job? Is it somebody on Krish's list? Do you have another name in mind? Is there anyone in particular that kind of sticks out to you?
Yeah, on Krish's list, I do like Ron James as an option. He's obviously been around for a long time, been more successful than not at his stops. I mean, obviously recently, had some issues, but I think he would be a good fit in the NAL personally.
Cody, any names come to mind for you?
I'm not going to speculate on anything. We can make the AI generated lists all the time until someone's announced. I'm not going to say anything.
Bro, come on, man. Really? Like, just say a name. It's not that difficult. Like,
I literally do not have a gauge.
come up with something. Say something. I don't know. Like,
Who do you want me to say? Because that's the thing. I'm not going to sit there and speculate.
Any young coach who you think could be a good fit on Quad City staff?
I don't care from anyone on Quad City staff. I really don't care. If you're looking at someone like Ron James, that could be a good fit. You look at anyone on your list, they could all be good fits. But again, until someone's announced, I'm not going to speculate on any of that. Like, okay, cool. You can go for someone like CJ Kane. You can go for Ron James. But until then, I'm not going to sit there and be like, hey, this is the guy. Because to be honest, it's going to sound bad. But it's like, I really don't care, because once that person's hired, that's when their job starts. It's not whoever speculated right now.
Fair point. So let me reframe this question then. If you were the owner hiring a coach for your team after what Colorado did last season, making the playoffs but not advancing, and you're heading into season 4, you've kind of established a foothold in your market, but you want to find the way to win, got some big name players. Who's the guy to bring that all together for you?
I mean, the biggest question you need to raise in that regard then is, are you going to try and break the bank to get Paxton Lynch back? And if you're going to do that, then you probably need a more offensive minded coach. So that way you can get something along the lines with that. And then your coaching staff goes, hey, let's get the offensive coordinator to get on the same page with him and everything along those lines. So that would be my first priority is, are we going to get Paxton Lynch back? And if we do, we need to make sure our offense and our entire offensive coaching staff and possibly our entire head coaching staff can revolve around that as part of what our identity will be as Colorado. I don't have a name. I don't have anything like that. But if that's what you want to do, that would be my first priority. Otherwise, you go and say, hey, who's the quarterback that we want to get, and what can we scheme around that? And what can we scheme around our defensive playmakers when it comes to that as well?
There you go. That's fair. And honestly, that is a big question coming out of Colorado. Does Paxton Lynch come back? If he does come back, how do you approach that situation? Does he want more say-so in the offense? Is it a situation where he basically calls the offense? I mean, I don't think that's necessarily out of the realm of possibility for a guy like Paxton, who has a background as a coach, even if it's at the youth level. He's been in the NFL. He obviously has touched a bunch of different systems. I'm sure he has enough knowledge to kind of be that guy if you want him to serve as that, and then maybe bring in a defensive coach that can just focus on defense. But it'll be interesting to see how things go for Colorado. I mean, obviously this is their first coaching search since hiring Shaw in their first season. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it goes. I think Krish hit the nail on the head. We all thought once Negron was hired, that was probably going to be their succession plan. And here we are, and it doesn't appear that's going to be the case. So going to be very interesting as well. Krish, you mentioned the Dallas Apex. You said you already kind of know who they're going to hire. I would imagine that you believe that person has some ties to the Beaumont Renegades from 2025, given, who their GM is, who the owner is, etc.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious who it is. It's the head coach down in Beaumont, from what I understand. And, it's no secret. I mean, we probably all figure this, but what I also know is like the GM, Richard Sickler, is kind of playing a big role in the personnel department. It's kind of building the team the way he wants to build it. So that's going to be kind of interesting dynamic between him and the coach, Coach Mayfield. But I also think that, for me, the biggest thing is like when you look at, the broad scope for Colorado, I think they need to hire someone who's young. They need to hire someone who's young, because if they're going to be the only coach, it's going to be difficult for them. I don't think any veteran coach wants to step in a situation where they're coaching by themselves. And that's what Coach Shaw was doing. He was calling offense and defense. That's a lot to ask of a coach who's been in the game for a while, So, and it's also like, how much are they willing to spend? Are they willing to break a bank for a coach, or are they trying to get someone for cheap? So we have to see that. Are they working out for commission? Are they selling? Like, these are all questions, would be kind of helpful to know ahead of time. So
fair.
Dallas, I did it based on people who were connected to the area.
Can I push back on that a little bit? You're asking for a veteran coach who's been around the league to not coach offense and defense, but you want to give it to a young guy who might not have the experience to coach offense and defense?
Because veteran coaches, I see your point, but veteran coaches, they have a lot of like self-respect. Most of them. You know what I mean? What they're willing to kind of stretch thin.
I think all coaches should have self-respect.
But you got my point though. If you're young, you're hungry, you're trying to breaking the game, you're willing to do whatever.
Trying to prove yourself. I see what you mean.
Right.
So the older veteran coach is going to have a more of a foot to stand on in terms of like, hey, no, I'm not calling offense and defense, or I'm not selling, or whatever it may be. So I kind of see your point there. Is that the scenario you see playing out? Is them going back to the same model where they have one coach calling both sides of the ball?
I mean, I just don't know how he wants to spend so much money on the team. I mean, they have one of the highest payrolls, if not the highest payroll in the league, and then you want to pay coaches. And you look at the attendance, it's like, dressed like a seat night every night in Colorado. So, you're trying to, find attendance. You're trying to build a team. There's so much.
No, you aren't wrong. And I want to say, first of all, I do not blame Tony Thompson or anything the Spartans have done for the lack of attendance here in Denver.
No.
Honestly, I mean, you brought in a guy like Paxton Lynch, and it didn't really seem to, significantly change anything for the Spartans. And it's a bummer, really, because I feel like Denver is kind of shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to keeping all, non-NFL teams here, and really wish the market would support the team a little bit better, because they have made an effort to be out in the community and stuff like that. Could it be better? Absolutely, but at the same time, it would be nice to see some more support from Denver. But any other thoughts on Colorado or for that matter Dallas? Let's go to TJ first.
Yeah, I mean, for the Apex, I could see Fred Shaw going there. I could see him making a big difference. I could also see Clinton Solomon going there as well. Those would probably be my two, just based off of this past season.
Gotcha. Solomon is definitely was my thought process for the favorite. Cody, any thoughts on Dallas's opening?
I mean, not really. If Krish knows who it is, he can spill the beans. But until then, I really don't know. Because, again, that's a brand new team. I don't know what they want to do, who they want to hire, what they want to go through, or anything like that. So until that person's named, and then you're like, all right, so let's just say it's Solomon or whoever. Okay, so Solomon's hired as the head coach. Now we can start putting the pieces of the puzzle together and go from there of like, what kind of offense do they want to run? What kind of team do they want to be? So until that kind of gets announced, you just are really just throwing darts in the dark when it comes to that.
To a certain extent, you're right. There are some dots to connect with this particular team, but we'll see. We'll see if those dots, paint a picture. In fairness, though, Lynch was injured before he played a home game, if I'm not mistaken. You are correct. I know that, the Spartans didn't put Lynch on IR until after that game, and I'm pretty sure that was intentional for promotional purposes. I would have done the same thing, right? That's just smart business. But at the end of the day, like I said, I want to see Denver support the team, because I don't want them to go away. I've been through this once before. We had the Colorado Crush twice, and they left twice because we couldn't get the support the team needed. And I feel like the Spartans have done a pretty good job of trying to garner that support.
Amazing ball. I mean, he threw 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Like, he had over a 63% completion percentage. So for me, like, I want to see him come back next year, and I know it'll be a lot for him to rehab to come back to indoor football, but, it'll be good for the sport if he can come back and play. Sure.
Well, let's be honest, though. He doesn't play last year unless he loves the game, right? I mean, he's been at the NFL level. He's been at the UFL level. He's been in the CFL. He's been told by all these places, hey, this isn't for you. Maybe you shouldn't play professional football, basically. And he still, came out to play for the Spartans. And it wasn't, I would imagine it wasn't for money. This dude has made literal millions during his professional career. So, I imagine, I could be wrong, but I don't think we've seen the last of Paxton Lynch, playing football yet. So, and I hope he doesn't go.
That's the question I want to raise, though, because we're talking about head coaches for Colorado. Out of any of the coaches that Krish put on his list, or any of your guys' coaches that you guys have in your heads, I'll raise the question to you: who is the best person that can get the most out of Paxton Lynch if he resigns?
Well, like I said a little bit ago, I think if you're the coach that's hired, your first area of business has to be talk to Paxton Lynch, see what he wants if he's choosing to return. If he's returning, you need to figure out, how much say does he want in the offense? Does he want a guy who's basically just going to be his yes man as an offensive coordinator? If that's the case, then do you even really hire an experienced coordinator or a coordinator at all? Like I said, at that point, if he wants a lot of say in the coaching and the play calling and stuff like that, maybe you just bring in a defensive coach. You bring in some offensive assistants to kind of help install the system, and then you go from there. But I think in terms of the coaches that Krish listed, I think James Terry makes a lot of sense, especially given what he did in Pueblo this past year. Coaching defense, coaching offense. He did a little bit of everything, when it was called upon. I think he made a really good case for himself for a situation like Colorado, where he may end up calling plays on both sides of the field. So if that's the case, it would make a lot of sense to me to see James Terry there as the head coach for the Spartans. Any other thoughts? Anybody else? Let me toss a question to you guys. Okay. Obviously, we know we saw the comments by Clinton Solomon this past week. He's not very thrilled with the situation in Beaumont, which we'll get to a little bit more in the AF1 section. But he also ended that comment with, not talking about Pueblo, my experience was lovely. So I wanted to ask you guys this. Do we see a situation where Pueblo can run it back in 2027 with Solomon and Brooks there? Or, do we see Solo try to go find his own position somewhere else where he can kind of lead the team? And then, does Brooks take over? Does Solo come back? Does Brooks leave? Like, what do you guys see happening in Pueblo with their coaching staff, especially if Terry is also a head coaching candidate? Let's go to TJ first on this
one. Yeah, I have no idea, to be honest with you. I mean, it worked this past season having Co. So, I mean, why not see if the situation could repeat itself? But I mean, I'm kind of a classical thinker. I kind of feel like, yeah, it worked last year, but I feel like you need a single head coach. Co-head coaches usually don't work out too well. Usually it's egos or conflicting views, and then that just starts turmoil from the inside out, and then that never ends well.
Fair point. Cody, do you see Pueblo trying to run it back with their staff?
You can see a scenario for it, but I don't see it happening. And it's kind of TJ's credit. Why are there not really any co-head coaches anywhere? It's, well, because it doesn't necessarily work. Why do you think it didn't really work in Bay Area? Why didn't you think it was working in Pueblo to where it's not the thing installed right now? So to that credit, like, could they run it back? Yes. But like to what TJ said, could there be turmoil that bubbles over? Could there be anything else that goes on? Sure. Do you want to put your hand in that hot boiling water? No, you don't want to do that. So I would say if he wants to run it back, that's on his own prerogative, but then he has to bear the consequences. I think he's going to go do his own thing.
I could see that. This is a funny comment. I just want to say, and I'm not calling anybody out, but there are, some cultures out there where that's the norm. So it works for them. Just saying.
Welcome to Salt Lake City.
I wasn't going to say that, but yes, you're right. or very, very Western Colorado. But that's also another story for another day.
If Sam has a black eye for next week, we know what happened.
You won't catch me asking for a second why. Trust me. I'd argue Bay Area worked well, which is super rare. It is super rare, and I think that was a unique scenario where those guys were hired as coordinators beforehand, and I think that's probably why it worked out.
But and this is no shot at Clinton Solomon, and we talked about this why it worked out in Bay Area, right? Both those guys kind of put their egos aside and were willing to work together. You know, with Clinton Solomon, man, Solo, he's a young guy. He's a young coach. He's still trying to find his identity. You know, he might not want to believe that. He might want to think he's, 10 years in, but he's not. And so when you're a young coach in the industry, what I see, it takes time to navigate that. And I think he's done a great job. You know, I'll be the first to say, man, I ranked him bottom tier. Honestly, he came in, 1-7, 2-8, whatever. I'm like, oh my God, he's a bottom tier. But when I said bottom tier, I meant bottom tier head coach. But he proved to me he's not bottom tier. He's middle tier. So he's making that big move in 2027 from bottom to middle. And just a huge career accomplishment for him. But for me, I think we should look at it as Solo. He's going to go through the free agency. I think Tay is coming back regardless. I think he's coming back to Pueblo regardless. I think he's locked in. He doesn't want to go anywhere else. I don't think there is anywhere else for him to go at this point. So Solo is looking, and he's going to look around for a little bit. And I think he will end up back in Pueblo. I couldn't see why he would want to take an offense coordinator position, closer to home rather than be a head coach, even if it's a co-head coach. But we'll see.
Well, and that's kind of my thought process. In this scenario, I think that he obviously liked the situation in Pueblo in terms of how he was treated and stuff. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said the nice things. But at the same time, like you said, if he does not have a head coaching offer on the table, why wouldn't you return to Pueblo? Obviously you had a lot of say in that organization. You were co-head coach or whatever, and maybe it's a situation where you're not necessarily co-head coach in 2027. But you can still have a lot of say in the organization because of your working relationship with Tay. Who knows? But regardless, I think it'd be interesting to see if they're able to run it back. But I could see a scenario where, both Solo and Terry are gone. It just depends on how things played out. But a couple of things that I wanted to get here. Imagine they were both under our bet too. They definitely figured out how to make it work. Talking about Keefe and Wooten in Bay Area. Mike Davis says, but did it really work out in Bay Area? And Cody, this is the exact response I was going to have. They lifted a trophy, but ultimately no, because co-head coaches will never work full time or long term. Sorry.
I think that's the biggest thing. They won a championship. And yes, they were paying guys a lot of money, and we can get, that's a whole conversation for another day. But still, they still won the championship, right? They still hosted a trophy, and I think it's a big deal, for them that they were able to accomplish that together.
Yeah, but you can get into the weeds. You can really get into the weeds of all right, they were paying a lot of money, but maybe this is to Coach Davis. I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I think he's trying to say okay, it worked out, but did it work out because you were already paying the players a bunch of money and then you just kind of needed to go on cruise control, or were they actually, going for it? So I kind of see where he's coming from with it, but yeah, ultimately they won a championship, man. So yeah, it did work out. What the hell?
You get a little bit of everything on around the indoor football world. You might even get a fire in a hotel. Hopefully not, though. But we'll get Cody right back as soon as he can get his fire alarm situation figured out. That's hilarious. So, I mean, yeah, to Cody's credit and to Coach Davis's credit, you can have a very real discussion about if it worked for them, right? Because, I mean, there's, we're talking about it 2 years later, and Bay Area did not play football last season. So yes, they won a championship in 2023, but only 2 years later, they weren't playing football at all. So is that really success? I mean, ultimately you got the championship when you wanted, but you haven't been able to play, you haven't been able to last long-term since then. So there is a question on if it really was successful. So any other thoughts on the NAL even though we're talking about the IFL at this point before we move on?
No, I'm just excited, man. I'm hoping for some news, Oh, Sioux City. Yeah, I want to send my, condolences to, Don Belson's family and the whole Sioux City community, right? Very sad to see, him pass away. He was such a staple, in the indoor football community. And I think, it just says a lot. Sioux City is a very, very resilient group, from coaches to owners. I mean, the amount of work, Coach Irv does down there. I mean, I can't even put into words. He does everything for the players. He organizes team dinners. He was a big pillar in this situation, and he's really keeping the team afloat and the organization afloat while the family dealing with the loss. And Coach Loban there, he builds a team every year. Coach Loban has had up to 5 or more offers to be a head coach elsewhere, and he decided to stay in Sioux City. And so that's loyalty to me. And you can never put a price on loyalty. So it means a lot. And so I'm coming out with a little, article about that because I think it's an amazing, story for Sioux City. So
thank you for bringing that up. Honestly, I don't know how it escaped my memory that Don Belson had passed. Obviously, that's a situation we never like to see play out for anybody. But at the end of the day, unfortunately, he was in his 70s. It's just the reality of life, unfortunately. So we're going to have a brief moment of silence for the owner of the Sioux City Bandits, one of the real greats in the industry, one of the longest running franchises in all of indoor football. To all accounts that I've heard from, that they take care of people the right way. They back up the things they promised. And from all accounts that I've heard as well, Don Belson was a great person to work with alongside as an owner. And we, our hearts go out to his family. But brief moment of silence for the passing of Don Belson, owner of the Sioux City Bandits. All right. So again, our condolences to Don Belson's family, friends, and everybody within the Sioux City Bandits organization. Once again, I just want to send my heartfelt apologies for your loss, and then also offer our assistance in anything we can possibly do to help you guys make it through this situation. It's never easy to keep a business of any kind going after the owner has passed away. So hopefully we can see Sioux City continue for many, many years to come. And this isn't anything but a bump in the road for the organization as a whole. Cody says, my apologies for the loud fire alarm. No idea what happened, but we should be good. I'll go out in a blaze of glory talking about indoor football. It was all those hot takes you were given. It just got little too hot in that room for you.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. That was annoying.
That was pretty funny. And Ricky says, I looked around my place thinking it was my alarm going off. And honestly, he was not the only one.
In some stupid poetic justice, it had to happen while I was talking and my mic was unmuted, not while anyone else, and like making me look like an idiot looking around. But like, no, as soon as I started talking, that thing starts going off. I'm just like, oh, this is stupid. So if the building burns down, it's my bad, guys. I left the coffee pot on, or no, I was kidding. I don't know. Someone probably pulled it.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. And for the record, if it does start to burn, escape. Don't try to finish the show, okay? Just so we're all on the same page. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. We'll transition over to the AF1. We got quite a bit to talk about in the AF1. And then we will finish it off with the IFL as Krish requested earlier. So make sure you stick with us. There's still plenty to talk about, including San Diego clinching their first Western Conference championship.
Okay, let's clarify. Regular season champions, which I never call a thing now. So,
well, I mean, it's always been a thing. You win the first seed, you won your conference. That's not a new thing. But I see you're
not a conference championship.
Yeah, and I
miss saying it. Like they've said that like 8 times on the broadcast, 8 times, off the wall. He's retweeting that.
You won the Western Conference. You didn't win the Western Conference championship.
You're right, and I misspoke. They won the Western Conference for the first time in franchise history. That's what I meant to say. My bad, guys.
No, I'm not attacking you. To Chris's credit, and I'll agree with him on that. The amount of people saying like, "Oh, they won the Western Conference Championship." There was no championship that was played. This isn't English Premier League. You don't just win the top of the table and that's it.
Are they going to hang a banner at their airport because of it, or?
God, I hope so.
It's already hanging. TJ, I know you got to get out of here, man. Thank you so much for joining us as per usual. Really appreciate your time every Saturday morning. And thank you for everything you do outside of the show, such as the magazine. Believe it or not, guys, we're already nearing up on the August edition, the third month of the magazine. And as mentioned last week, TJ is kind of the sole proprietor of everything going on with the magazine. So thank you once again for doing all that for us, TJ.
Hey, man, it's easy with the group of guys. I have Cody included, yourself as well. Krish, you're thinking about joining finally. It's about time, man. No, but yeah, really just a group effort and super happy with how it's coming along.
It's been a really cool project to follow along with. And believe it or not, I have very little to do with, very, very little to do with it compared to everybody else. So you've been doing a great job. All of you guys have been doing a great job. So thank you to TJ and have a great rest of your afternoon, sir. We'll catch you next week.
Absolutely. Everyone catch all the games. It's going to be a great weekend.
Absolutely. On that note, quick commercial break. We'll be right back to talk about the AF1.
Oh.
How many times a week?
Like three, four times maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
Hi, everyone. This is TJ from Shady Sports Network. I am excited and proud to be the first one to announce that we as a network are introducing a digital magazine, official one called Shady Sports Magazine. As many of you know, the bread and butter of our network is covering arena and indoor football, and that's exactly what this magazine is going to be about. It is going to be the first ever arena and indoor football central magazine, all the leagues included. You're going to also have a bunch of articles in there about past teams going down memory lane. It's just going to be a one-stop shop for the already diehard fan. It's going to be an easy spot to get all of your info, no matter which league or however many of the leagues you may watch. And for the new fan or the casual fan, it may help you turn into a diehard fan now, because you're going to be able to get all the info super quick and easy, sent directly into your email. We will announce in the upcoming weeks when the inaugural issue is going to be released. And believe me, we will definitely keep you updated on our shows and network as a whole on how to sign up for that list to get it. Email for free every month. Thank you to the fans, and thank you for everyone watching. As always, like, follow, share, subscribe, and most important, enjoy the show and keep watching. Thank you, and see you guys later.
All right, we're back to discuss the big news coming out of the AF1 this week, which, of course, were partially the comments made by Clinton Solomon, but it's not only by Clinton Solomon. After Clinton Solomon came out and said some things about the ownership group in Beaumont, players have started to weigh in and said very similar things, basically echoing Solo's statements, including quarterback Carl Robinson, who had been there for 2 seasons now. So let's just go around the horns on this one. Obviously, you never like to see this information come out from any team. We don't want Beaumont to go away. If anything, hopefully the ownership group there realizes that this stuff is being said and it's for a reason. You don't have a bunch of veterans of the game start talking negatively about the team that they play for if it's not for a reason. So, Krish, I'm going to go to you first on this one. Let's try and keep it somewhat respectful. What do you think has led to this situation that we see unfolding before us?
Some people just don't have the money to own a team, right? In this industry, it's very expensive. Rodney Robichaux came in and took over Beaumont, and we thought, man, he was a breath of fresh air and everything. But quickly we started to see like he's not the guy. He doesn't have the resources, and it's showing, and it's affecting the players and coaches. My thing is, and I mentioned this to someone yesterday, like, why come back? And I'm not blaming Solo for that, but why come back? I'm asking. If you knew the situation was bad last year, did you come back for the players? If you came back for the players, okay. But it's still a horrible situation. We've seen it all year. Like, there's a player on that team that was with the Vegas Nighthawks, Devin Kirkwood. He's a DB out of UCLA. One of the highest, PFF grades in the country for a DB, right? He decided to go to Beaumont and leave Vegas for that. And think about how he's feeling. He's sitting there not getting paid when he could be in Vegas, fighting for a Western Conference championship. So it shows, a lot of these guys are misled. They're done dirty, and that's on the owner, Rodney. And Rodney can come on every page and say, oh, it's bullshit, whatever, this, that, or the other. But, like, when you have 5 to 7 people coming out on one Facebook post saying they weren't paid, they weren't this, like, there's something wrong. So I feel like that's the last we've seen in Beaumont. I think they'll go under, unfortunately, unless they get new ownership at the last minute. The fan base has kind of quit on the team. It's not good. And I feel bad for my guy. My guy JD's down there. Number 99, only number retired in franchise history. Like, it's a big deal, to see him down there suffering. And no one deserves that. No one does.
Agreed. Cody, do you have any thoughts on this situation? And here, before we do that, let me pull up the comment by Solo and also, like I mentioned, quarterback Carl Robinson.
Yeah, so comments that I have when it comes to this, correct me if I'm wrong, because this was a while ago. When Beaumont made the jump to AF1, weren't we saying that they were going to not necessarily struggle on the field, but didn't we say like the costs of the nets and everything like that going from NAL to AF1 are going to be significantly higher? Like, I'm not saying like we knew about this for a long time, but we were raising these concerns and having the skepticism all the way up to when they joined the league. So not to sit there and be like, I told you so, or we were right all along. That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make was like, there were concerns already raised. And if they were able to make it work, great. But it seems like that just wasn't the case. And they got in over their heads. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. Aren't these are new owners, but didn't all this stuff come from Corpus Christi and all of that stuff too? No, that's Kentucky, right? Sorry, my AF1 geography and all that stuff is not up to par. So yeah, I'm trying to remember all of this stuff because it's been a while. But still, yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's like, hey, we knew this was going to happen, but at some point in time, you're like, this is going to come to a crux, and it's either going to be all right, and we'll make it work, and the payments and everything like that will be fine, or it's going to go the other way on the access, and it seems like it's going that way.
I remember, Coach, this was funny. So he came across the sheet, that he signed with Vegas. And I'm on my, just looking at rosters for the AF1. And I see this name, Devin Kirkwood. No picture, no school listed for Beaumont. And I'm like, is this the same guy they just signed? And I found out it was, just by doing some research and everything. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, these guys hop. And I know he wanted to stay close to home. Right. But, there's signs, like you have to do your research. And, at the end of the day, like, we call these guys kids and and some of them are, right? Of course. Right. But at the end of the day, like, they're adults once they, go across that stage and leave college. And so they need to also do their research, and the people around them need to give them good advice. And this was someone who misguided, who was now playing running back in the arena style when he could be dominating the IFL. So I really hope he gets, his feet under him and finds a good opportunity next year somewhere.
Agreed. And I think That's one of the things that I always go back to, and you guys have heard this example so many times, but I don't understand why some of these guys stick around after the first non-payment. Like I get it. Like you might be stuck to a certain extent. You might need to find ways back, but why aren't we planning for a way home ahead of time? Like if you're traveling to a job, shouldn't you be planning for a way to get back?
And you also need to understand too, like not to. I'm just giving Coach Davis his flowers. Like he released Evan. He released him. Like he didn't refuse to report. He could have easily put him on refuse to report, and he wouldn't be able to play in the IFL. But he released him, so he was a free agent in the IFL. So he could have went anywhere. You know what I mean? Like after the first time he wasn't paid, he could have been like, "Oh, I'm out," but he decided to stay. So that's kind of
And that's one of the things I hear a lot from players is like, well, I didn't get a check, or first it was a couple days late. And then my next check didn't come. And then my next check didn't come. And it's like, man, once that first check doesn't come and it's more than a week, that's it. I'm out. Like, it doesn't matter. Like I've told you guys, I've had this situation happen to me one time in my entire professional career. I've been working a job since I was 16 years old. So literally 20 plus years. One time I had it happen, and I literally gave that job 5 days to pay me 7 days to pay me. And I was paid before that 7th day. And that's the only reason I remained at that job. Past that, I never had another issue with that owner. But if you have those signs, you need to understand it's a sign of a bigger problem. It's not a temporary problem. It's a sign of a bigger problem. So it's something that, like, this is a life skill that these guys need to understand. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're bagging groceries or playing football or working a blue collar job or selling stocks. It does not matter. If you ever have to wait for a paycheck, there's a reason, and it needs to be a concern, and you need to get to the bottom of that.
To your credit too, I think for some of the guys that are either the homegrown or close to home, I think some of them can let it slide if they miss a payment because they're like, hey, I'm home. I don't have to travel, things like that. For the people that have to, let's just say you play for Beaumont, but you traveled all the way from New Jersey or whatever. That is a bigger thing. If you miss that check, like, then what? And it also depends on if the league, team, whoever, if they're paying for your housing, if they're paying for your meals, if they're doing a lot of variables do come into that as well. So yeah, to your credit, if you miss a paycheck and they're able to recoup it, I think that's like, hey, maybe it's just a bump in the road. But yeah, once that's the second week, the third week, and you're starting to fall behind on payments, that red flag's already there. And then it just keeps getting more and more and more red flags. And you're just, okay, we've got a huge problem brewing. And this isn't the only team this is a damn near staple of the indoor and arena game. And it's something that I'm sure all of us want to see it out the door because we want to make sure that these guys get payments. We want to make sure that they can play at their fullest ability. And we don't want to see, I'm not going to call them shoddy owners, but for lack of a better term, we don't want shoddy ownership. We want guys that can pay the players. We want guys that can house the players or feed them or do whatever at the bare minimum and make sure that the leagues can grow and succeed.
Exactly, and I also put some of it on the coaches too. You're supposed to be leading these young men through the fire, and instead you're leading them, like into the fire, into the pit. When guys are not getting paid, instead of trying to sign new guys, try to, be a voice. And I'm not saying they weren't, but I'm saying that you can kind of tell players ahead of time, hey, we're not getting paid. I'm going to be the first one to take a stand. But they go back to the, we not me mentality.
I think, again, you can put some blame on the coaches too. I'm not saying you can't, but this is going to sound bad, but unless the coaches are getting their paychecks, if they're missing paychecks, I think they're under the assumption that the players are getting paid too. Again, I'm not going to put words in any mouths or speculate or stuff like that. So if there is an issue with that, I'm sure we've heard stories of coaches paying players cash or paying them to say, hey, I will pay you money because you missed your paycheck. I don't want to see you go away.
Yep.
So, I mean, like I said, it happens all the time.
Yep. And that is one thing that I will say. There are a lot of coaches in the indoor football industry that have paid players out of pocket because of situations like that, or, whatever. They've fed players out of their own pocket, or they've coached for free for a season because the team wasn't paying or whatever, and they were taking care of their players. So there's a lot of stories like that about coaches stepping up and doing the right thing when they can. But, and that's another human element here is like, if the coach isn't getting paid, like, then how is he supposed to help anybody? He's also missing money at that point. So there's a couple situations. It seems like the start is always the same and the end result is always the same. It happens a million different ways, and it happens because of a million different reasons. But it just, the reason we report on stuff is like this is not to call out the owners or anything like that. It's to shine a light on the fact that this is a common issue and it doesn't need to be, right? So if you don't have the financial backing to finish out a season, I mean, I hate to say this, but just go dormant for a year or do anything literally else other than try and, put other people into the fire, like Krish just said. So definitely a rough situation all the way around. So, and we hope everybody's made whole. Everybody, is able to get back home and all that stuff. But it's pretty rough look for Beaumont.
And this is what percentage of players is truly relying on. There are some guys who choose not to get a job, right? And choose and think they can kind of make all the money through indoor football. But it's very low. You know what I mean? Like, very low guys make that dumb decision. I feel like it's hard to put a percentage on it.
It's hard to put a percentage because what players have families, what players are single, what players bring their families to wherever they're going. Like, if you've got a wife and a kid, are you taking your kid? I'll use that analogy again. If you're taking them from New Jersey to Beaumont, Texas, I mean, are you doing that and then relying on this? Because that's a stupid decision. And then, are you getting a job? Is it where the ownership can set you up with a job, or the coaching staff can set you up with a job? Or are you trying to do it on your own? Is the wife working? Again, how old are the kids? There's a lot of variables when it comes into it. But what percentage of players truly reliant? I would say all of them are reliant to an extent. That's the reason why they're playing. Some play for the love of the game, don't get me wrong, but I'd say a lot of them want to play for that paycheck. That's not a guarantee, but some of them do play for it.
Of course, and it depends on, I know for JD, right, my guy who's down there in Beaumont, like, he lives there. He gets to be near his family. Like, it's really good, for him to be able to do that. But like, if he's not getting paid, you start to think about, is the sacrifice really worth it? They had a lot of talented players on that Beaumont team too. That team was not like really talented team. They had Malik McDowell there at one point. I mean, Sidney Jones, Zuri Davis, like a lot of good players.
Well, DeBrian's other comment says, I think that players create a bond with the team and want to play for their team. A lot of that is hometown. You want to go play for, if you grew up outside of Houston and want to play in Beaumont. And I keep using them as an example because that's the topic we're on right now. But it could be you played at UNLV and want to go play for the Nighthawks, or you played at I don't know, Florida, and you want to go play for the Jacksonville Sharks or whatever the case could be. So yeah, there is a bond of hometown. There's a bond of, hey, I like this coach and he went to go coach insert city, so I want to go coach with him or play with him, things like that. So it's not just, hey, the city looks appealing because it's Phoenix, Arizona, or whatever. It's the coaches there, the ownership's there, my teammates, former teammates are there. So yeah, a lot of that is that bond when it comes to everything else. The paycheck is part of it too. Don't get me wrong. Everyone wants to get paid. Who doesn't? You want to make your talents known. You should get paid for it. So again, if you're going to a place like that, you got to know who you're dealing with.
Exactly. Like you mentioned the Nighthawks, right? You look at how many guys they've had from UNLV, not a lot. Seneca McKee this year, Randall Grimes the year before. And after that, like, you wonder, I think it was maybe two or three others, one or two, whatever. But the point is like, and CJ, hits on the nail right here, which we'll get to. But the point is, like, even in Orlando, like, we only have two or three local guys. Some teams, they rely on local guys to save money on housing. So if you're saving money on housing and you still can't pay your players, hey, you're not ready to be an owner at any level.
Fair. So a couple comments, or a lot of comments here real quick I'm going to run through. So 1060 Designs, I don't agree with that thinking, but I note it to be true as a mentality for some players. Let me switch it. As a former player to the point of just being able to leave, it's not always the easiest decision to leave. Sometimes it's your only opportunity to play and get film. Each guy has a different motivation, so it's not easy to just pack up and leave. Some guys don't bring cars and have the team fly them out, so then there's no money. They can't really go anywhere. And that's my point, is like, look, again, I'm not trying to say that I'm the smartest individual in the world. Lord knows I am terrible with money. But if I am traveling to a job where I've never worked for this person before, and I need to make sure that I can get back home to my family at some point, I'm going to plan for that return trip. I'm going to budget for that, make sure I have that money set aside, and I don't touch it until I can make that travel back, And I'm not saying that I really don't want this to come off as like I'm trying to lecture players. If anything, I want this to be like a public service announcement for these guys. Like, plan for the worst case scenario. Because if you do, when the best case scenario plays out, guess what? All that money's still there for you to use. So you're prepared. And if everything comes to fruition the way the team says it was going to, then you're going to be in a really good position. That's all I'm saying, is just plan accordingly. Plan as if you're not going to get a dime of that money. And if you do, then you're going to be set up for life. Or not life, but you're going to be set up for the foreseeable future, right? You always hear the stories about the NFL players that I never touched my NFL contract. I lived off my, NIL deal or whatever it was. And those are the guys that are successful and, set themselves up for years and years and into the future. It's the guys that are not only depending on this money, but expecting it, that are setting themselves up for failure. So
now, correct me if I'm wrong here. Didn't this happen just a couple years ago with the AFL 3.0 or whatever, the one from 2024 with all the folding and everything like that? Weren't there GoFundMe's to try and get guys back to where they're at? Because didn't like the Philadelphia Soul players get stranded somewhere? Things like, I could be misremembering because it's been a couple of years, but like I swear to God, I remember there being like GoFundMe's to get guys back to their hometowns because they were sold on a bill of goods that never transpired. And
exactly, and you bring up that point. It's a great, segue. Is like Pat Pimmel. Pat Pimmel was the head coach of Philadelphia. He stood up and left. Because he's like, I'm not going to deal with it anymore. I'm not going to be
no. Well, let's pump the brakes on that. He may have left, but it was after a while of stuff happening, and it was after a while of him footing bills for a while, from what I was told.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
And to 1060 Design, I was going to bring it up because I didn't want to trash the IAL because I do that enough. But yeah, I'm pretty sure people went over to Europe and had to get GoFundMe'd back to the US because the European division or whatever shut down, and they were, again, sold a bill of goods that wasn't a thing. Now, again, could be wrong there. I need to touch up on my IAL knowledge, I guess, but I'm pretty sure that's what happened as well, too.
It's no different for players with training camp. There are no guarantees. You need to be real about the situation you're going to. Not everyone is going to make the team during camp, and need to be prepared to get back home if you don't make the team. Right. You're taking a chance on yourself, right? That's what professional sports is. You're gambling on your abilities and the situation you're putting yourself in. Now, obviously, you can make calculated gambles. If you go play for the Omaha Beef, you don't have to worry about your checks coming every week. You're going to get paid. You're going to get taken care of. They're going to uphold their end of the bargain. And there are a lot of teams out there that do. And we could literally list countless teams that uphold their end of the bargain. But that's my point. There's plenty of really, really good teams out there that you don't have to go chase, hey, this team that's brand new told me they're going to pay me $1,000 per game. But if I go play for, and obviously these are just numbers in the wind right now, but if I go play for, Omaha, I'm going to make $400 a game or whatever it may be, right? If you can count on that 400, it might be a little bit more valuable than the 1,000 that you may not know you can count on. So that's kind of the things that you have to weigh out when you're making some of these decisions. And to CJ's credit, not every player has those options to be able to make those decisions. So that is one of those situations where sometimes you kind of are at the whim of the team, and that's a tough place to be for sure. It baffles me that the leagues don't hold these minimum salaries in escrow or something, especially since there are 2 checks being issued. That's only with the AF1, though, for the record, with the 2 checks. But you're right. I don't understand that either. And maybe Ricky or some of the owners that are watching or GMs that are watching can shed some light on that as well. I would think that players create a bond with the team and want to play with the team. So I think that sometimes that bond makes players stick around longer. 100% true. There's zero argument from that. Football is one of those sports where you obviously aren't just playing for yourself. So that is very accurate, Brian, to your credit. The percentage doesn't matter. Players should be paid what their contract says regardless. 100%, and that's what we're talking about here. The other perspective, they don't want to jeopardize still being able to play professionally. There's a stigma that if they raise a stink, no one else would want to sign them. And that's fair. You don't necessarily have to raise a stink. You can just go home and then, go to your next opportunity or find your next opportunity if you can. So I know, again, every situation is different. Just plan accordingly is what we're all trying to say here. I didn't leave for any away games without knowing I could buy a ticket back home just in case. And that's fair. I mean, for all you get cut on the road and then they don't provide you a way back, like who knows? You're not lecturing, you're telling them the plan and be an organized adult. Good advice, especially going to play with a new organization because you never know. This just happened in the IAL 2 this season. Make sure you're hitting the like button. Unfortunately, not everyone listens to it if it's a bad situation. Should have a rainy day fund to help make sure you can get home. Georgia Force guys were stranded. Philadelphia Soul, I think some of the Voodoo players possibly. Pimmel left and still paid for many other guys to get home out of his own pocket, even after he was no longer there. That's the issue. Some guys will take a maybe 1,000 over the for sure 400. Comes down to research. Exactly, Sam. How many guys are promised something from a team but never get it just because you are offered something? Many of these teams never follow through. And then again, make sure you're hitting the like button. So yeah, a lot of comments there. This is a topic that touches everybody. If you're a fan of indoor football, whether you're a fan, a player, a coach, an owner, it affects everybody when this happens. So that's why we're bringing light to it. We don't want this stuff to happen. We don't want these teams to continue to do this stuff. So we're hoping that, bringing attention to it will make it clear that this is not going to be allowed anymore.
And one thing I want to say before we venture off and segue to a different thing is in the last couple of weeks, and I wasn't here last week, so I'm not sure what you guys talked about, but since I've been on here, we've talked about this, we've talked about Kentucky, we've talked about all of the issues that the AF1 has had when it comes to paying the players or replacement players or whatever it could be. And the playoffs are today. We should be talking, and we will talk about the playoffs, but that should be the thing. That should be the driving force. We were talking the playoffs, but instead we're talking about guys earning money or not making their paychecks or teams folding or doing this. You should be, again, I know we're kind of the driving force behind it, but the playoffs start today and we will talk about it. That should be the thing driving this. Not, well, didn't make our payments. So there we go. Because all the negativity will be the thing that everyone talks about before any of the positivity, because it's happened time and time again, and it will not stop unless we start weeding this stuff out.
Exactly.
I see what you're saying too, Coach. I feel like, that should be kind of in the back of their mind. You know what I mean? It should be the front of their mind having to worry about that. They should 100% BS. Guys should, the pros, it's a professional job. So the owners have to step up.
You're 100% correct. And that's part of it for sure. But at the end of the day, like I said, in life, it's just a good idea to plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? And typically, if you do that, you're not going to be in a bad situation. So that's really all it boils down to. Leagues do need to have plan for situations like this and have a way to make sure the players are made whole. So, yeah, truer words were never spoken. Honestly, we're not trying to say that it's okay that these teams don't pay. We're just saying plan ahead, so you don't put yourself in a position where you're stranded and, having to get, whatever you can possibly get figured out to make it work. But believe it or not, we're actually here to talk about some AF1 games this upcoming weekend as well. It's not just negative stuff. We do, in fact, talk about football here on the show as well. So, believe it or not, there are a couple games coming up this upcoming weekend, which, of course, are displayed on the screen. We have Kentucky versus Michigan in Michigan, as spoken about here on the show a couple weeks ago. Washington versus Minnesota in Minnesota. So, I wanted to get you guys' opinions on these games. Obviously, there's maybe some favorites here, so we'll just lead it with that. Krish, who do you have in this week's games?
It's hard. So Michigan is gonna beat Kentucky by about 14 to 20 points. Kentucky signing Wheeling Minor players as we speak. So those guys are not they don't have experience in the system. I thought they were gonna get Daryl Overstreet back. There's been no transaction made with him yet, to my knowledge and what I've seen. So they'll start Dominic Hobley, who's a retired. He's a semi-pro guy. So he'll be in there. He was the offensive coordinator for the Odessa Drillers.
Hobdy.
Oh, okay. But the whole point is he needs to perform against the Michigan defense, and he won't. So that's my point. It's not about the name. But maybe for you, he's going to dominate.
No. I just, so we're clear, I wasn't saying that. I was just trying to correct the name.
No, it's fine. But Michigan is going to win by 14 to 20 points. Malik is going to ball MVP. Let's go, Michigan. My boy Lyota got them boys playing hard, so excited for that. Washington and Minnesota. I would argue, and this is a hot take, but people think I'm crazy, but these are two coaches who are under the most pressure to win this game. JR made the playoffs to beat one good team. Minnesota made the playoffs. They have the highest payroll in the country. That's the expectation. That's the least they can do, is make the playoffs. So I feel like Minnesota D-line is way better than Washington's O-line. Minnesota should win this game. Tony O'Neill, he has to do a job and have these guys ready to play. And Minnesota should win by 10 points. And when Washington loses, I don't want to hear we made the playoffs. You made the playoffs in a league where 6 out of 8 teams make the playoffs. That should not be an accomplishment. Winning a playoff game, and that step JR needs to take to retain his job for next season. So.
6 out of 9 teams for the record, and
8.
8 teams now. But the reason I mentioned that is because Oregon was a part of this league at one point, and at one point Oregon did hold the lead on Washington. So granted, it was very early on, but I'm just saying, it took a team folding and 6 teams making the playoffs out of 8 that remained for Washington to make the playoffs. So to your credit, it's definitely time to start having that discussion about J.R. Wells and should he return in 2027. But
right, and no hate on him. It's just he's just not ready to be a head coach at the pro level. That's fine.
Yeah. We're not trying to single him out. It's just at this point, it's it proofs in the pudding, right? So,
but it's the same thing with Darren Clark and Tony O'Neill, right? Those guys sit there and it's their first season and all this stuff. But nah, man, you're spending all this money. You're paying guys $2,000-$3,000 a game. The expectation is to win. When you spend that, it's not to just make the playoffs. It's to win the championship. So
you aren't wrong. Cody, who do you have in these 2 games, my friend?
Yeah, give me the 2 home teams. We don't know who Kentucky is going to roll out there. The transactions show who it is, but at the same time, can they all gel together? I have no idea. So give me Michigan when it comes to that. If somehow Kentucky pulls that upset, I guess you can just point and laugh. I have no idea, but I think Michigan should secure that victory pretty easily. I'll even agree with Krish to an extent. 14 to 20 points. It should be a convincing win. Minnesota and Washington, you do have to factor in a little bit of travel when it comes to that. Washington going all the way to Minnesota, but Washington's been traveling all season. So, I got to factor that in, though, as well. Minnesota being the home team, I think that they have the opportunity to get the victory here. I will be shocked if Washington does pull this upset. To be honest with you, I do, because they have that opportunity. Minnesota has been got before, but I think this is a good chance for Minnesota to be like, hey, we're going to put our name here. We have an opportunity to go do something. Like Krish said, we got the highest payroll. Let's go actually prove it. And let's go try and win a crown, not a championship. I guess a crown when it comes to the AF1.
A good producer would have had a crown right there, but I'm only a half-assed producer, in case anybody was wondering. So I too have the home teams. I'm not going to spend a ton of time breaking it down. You guys have done a great job of saying why we may favor the home teams currently.
Counterpoint: Trey said that Washington has the power of Jimothy, so I might want to change my pick.
I'm so behind the time on trends, man.
Jimothy is I believe a raccoon.
It's a raccoon.
It's got like a genetic disorder or something like that. It's got like a very short spine.
Right. It's just like came out of nowhere and now it's everywhere. I don't know. Like I said, I'm always one step behind all the trends. My wife always has to inform me and then explain why they're funny. So, that's a fun little game we play. But anyway, we're going to hit a quick commercial break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the IFL. There's a couple big things to discuss. Obviously, there's also a very vague and interesting post about from Fred Elliott that we'll bring out as well. So,
wait, one question for you. I know we've been on the A1 here for a while, but what teams do we see coming back next year?
Do we even see a league coming back next year? Bum, bum, bum.
No, they will. But with okay, here's another question. So I know Long Beach is confirmed for next year. Long Beach, California, right? They put a team there. So Oceanside comes back, right? Stockton, we don't know yet. What teams leave? Do we see Washington leave? Do we see, we know Oregon and not coming back? So who stays, who leaves? Does Kentucky come back?
We've talked about it in the private chat before. If the AF1 wants to try and make it work, I think you go to a regional league like the AFL tried to do in that East Coast little pocket towards like the DMV and Philadelphia and all of that stuff. I think if you're able to make it work, you've got to contract it down to probably Nashville, Michigan, Minnesota, and Albany, and go from there. And those are your 4 teams, and you make it work for a season, and then you start getting prospective, owners, whoever, locations, and go from there. Because trying to expand nationwide, it just does not work unless you've been at it for years and years and years. Because to be honest, I don't know if Washington will. I don't know how much money Washington has. I'm not going to speculate, but if they want to keep paying all of that money to travel out, and they're the only team on that West Coast, if Oceanside doesn't come back, then I don't know what to tell you. If they bring in Stockton, I guess that helps. But I don't know if they want to keep spending all that money to travel even to Minnesota. That's probably their closest place if you don't get Oceanside or Stockton.
Man, this is a wild comment. I am not even remotely as confident as Triple McGee is here, right? I've said it before. I'll say it again. I think that, the AF1 will probably continue next season, but that might be their swan song. I'm actually of the thought process that they're kind of delaying the inevitable at this point. I hate to say it because I do think the league has done a lot of good things since they've come back. But at the same time, if we look back and we look at the expansion teams for 2026, or even really look at what's left of the expansion from 2025, it's been ugly for 2 seasons now. Kentucky came out. We thought they were going to be great. They're, promising a ton of money to guys, promising, they were a contender all the way up until they weren't, and then, I've been told that they'll probably be back, that it wasn't necessarily, it was too much too fast is what it boils down to for them, but that they'll be back and that things should be better, but that they probably will not be paying what they're paying now or what they were promising early on. And maybe they make it work like that. And maybe the league ultimately understands that you can't have teams paying multiple $1,000s per game to, long term. But, I personally, if I'm looking at the scope of the AF1 right now, I mean, man, I don't know. Do I have a lot of confidence in Oceanside? We don't know much about them. They just rebranded. They just brought in that ownership group. Can that ownership group make it through a full season? How does a full offseason of lead up help them? Does Washington want to come back after everything that's gone on over the past couple seasons for them? Oregon was their closest rival and their best regional partner for travel. All of a sudden, them leaving, I don't know, man. It's
well, let's put it into the perspective of this, because we've talked about this before. Every single league right now that we cover or try to cover has expanded. IFL has announced Austin and Athens. AAL has gotten their 4 new teams. NAL has gotten Dallas. Every league has announced expansion except for AF1. Is there a reason why? Because I'm not going to speculate, but we are sitting here on July 25th, which means next week is August. If they don't have anything announced by August, you have 8 months of any expansion team to come in to buy the nets, coaches, season ticket deposits, players, tryouts, anything and everything, turf, walls, dashers, blah, blah, blah. They need all of that stuff in 8 months to come together, and a location and insurance and workers' comp and everything like that. Can you get it all sorted out? Yes, it's happened before, but at the same time, to do that in 8 months compared to other leagues giving their teams a year, a little over a year, I mean, the runway is so short when it comes to that you're almost setting those teams up for failure. So you better hope that all those teams in the AF1 come back. Otherwise, I don't really know. Like I said, you might have to drop it down to 4 teams, possibly 6. We don't know if Kentucky's coming back. We don't know about Beaumont or Oceanside or Washington or anything like that. So we just don't know.
Right. And my big thing that when I look at the bigger picture of the AF1 right now, my thing is always, what does the league offer to these teams that are keeping them there? And to me, for Albany and Nashville, basically what it seems to be providing to them at this point is a headache. Basically they have to run the league, and at the end of the day, they have to worry about every other team trying to make it through the season, because outside of Washington, they are virtually the only 2 teams in the league that have been very, very stable and can make it through. They can do the things that they need to do. So with that being the case, I mean, I personally would have to wonder, like, I know Albany, they've been very adamant they want to play arena rules football. But at the same time, I mean, if this is the result, are you really going to fight against going to the IFL at some point, or going to the NAL at some point, or going to the AAL at some point, forever? When this is what we're going through every year, 5 expansion teams, 6 expansion teams, none of them finish. 1 finishes, 2 finishes, but it's ugly. That's not a good look. And if anything, it's dragging down what Nashville and Albany are doing. It's dragging down what some of these other teams, Minnesota, is doing, because you have Minnesota blowing out a team that should be like the 4th seed technically, because they're playing with replacement players and stuff like that. It's just not a good look for the really stable, really good teams. So, AF1 has a really good foundation, but like Cody said, who else is around it? I mean, do these other teams stabilize with time, or does it look like it did this season? And if it does, why go back for 2028? Right. A lot of comments here. Too much, too fast will be the 30 for 30 documentary.
And one team you forgot to mention too is Minnesota. I mean, Jacob Lambert's paying, I heard he had money in Kentucky. He had money in Oceanside. He had money in Beaumont. He has money in Minnesota. He has all money everywhere. Like, I'm sure he has a lot of money, but eventually that's going to run out, right?
Right.
So exactly what this comment says, 100%.
Right.
Let me raise this question to you as well, if we're going to be in full speculation mode. What cities that don't already have an NAL, IFL, AAL team, like where are you going to put a city, or where are you going to put a team?
So I think, this is my opinion, I think they try to, so Long Beach, California.
Okay.
I think we see them try to get Wheeling. I think they will try to go after Wheeling from the American Riddle League. Not saying it'll happen, but I think they will definitely try out of desperation. I think they'll try to go after international Riddle League teams, even though the league owns the teams. So they're going to have to find owners for those teams. So they'll try to go after 1 or 2 of those. Then the biggest thing would be, for me, I think the TAL. I think they'll go after Ozark, Kansas City, and Iowa. I think they'll get those 3 teams to come
But then
over.
that raises the question, okay, so you go after those teams that are already established, or you go get a new team in Long Beach. You have to look at those arenas and make sure that they can hold nets, or you have to modify the nets to make sure that they go in there.
Right.
And then
Right.
again, in Long Beach, do you have an arena that is suitable for it? I'm not sure. I don't know
I
Long
haven't seen
Beach.
any arena, and I've been doing research over the past couple of days. So unless they're going to be called Long Beach, they've never had a team before. So they're really going to play in Long Beach, or are they playing outside?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that's the issue that I'm personally thinking of, is like, what locations can you do that can fit the footprint? Do you go and get, like, to Chris's credit, do you go get the Salt Lake team out of the IAL to help travel with Washington? Do you go get Cincinnati if Kentucky isn't going to be around, or if they're going to try and prop that up or whatever? I don't know. I truly don't know, because there's only so many arenas in the United States that can probably hold the nets, or that haven't been burned by different markets, or that don't already hold teams. We've already seen AF1 and plenty of other ones trying to be like, we're going to break into the Phoenix market. That's never really come to fruition. I mean, they've tried with Mullet Arena in the IAL, and I don't know. You got to find places that people will want to go to.
No, I honestly, and one thing too is, like, with Kentucky, they had a really good setup with the college and the Kentucky University. But if they're not paying for their arena, is the new owner responsible for back payments to that arena? Like, that's a big thing too, where a potential ownership partner for that team might want to back off because of that.
New owner in Kentucky?
No, I'm saying, if they were to get a new owner, would they want to, attack that and understand, like, there's payment due? I see your point here, though, but there was community support. Their attendance when they played was decent for a first-year team.
Let's also be honest. Like, I hate to say it this way, but, like, the college thing is a great in theory, but it's not going to meet immediate results a lot of the times.
No, because most of the time you're playing in the middle of the summer when everyone's already graduated and gone.
Especially with the AF1 that starts later. So you're talking about April. So, like, if we were going to see good attendance, it would have been, early on or late in the season. But at this point, will kids even be back in school? I mean, they won't, because it's July 25th and Kentucky's season's about to be over.
Most colleges graduate like the first or second week of May, and then they don't come back until like the week before or the week of Labor Day. Because then it's normally syllabus week, and then you get the 3-day weekend.
Right. Now, I will say I still like that setup. I still think you can use that to build out a fan base. I just don't think it's going to be an immediate thing. I still think that it's going to take some time to build up.
I think the downside to it a little bit too is I don't think Northern Kentucky has a football team. So that's a little bit of a detriment to it as well, because you could kind of brand it as, hey, let's just use we'll just use Cincinnati. Like, Cincinnati has the Bearcats. Well, you can kind of go hand in hand, like, oh, we got a football team and we got an indoor football team using the arena. You don't really have that with Northern Kentucky. It's just, here's an indoor football or arena football team. There you go. We don't have a football team, so this is the closest thing we got. As like, do people want to show out for that? I don't know, because I don't know if people show up for Northern Kentucky basketball games. I mean, they're D1, but at the same time, they're probably in the same realm of mid majors as a lot of other mid majors. So,
fair point. And I will say, I was one of the ones parading that partnership, that because of the fact that they didn't have a football team. I
think we all were, to be honest, because I know I was in that thing, and then the more I thought about it, I was like, well, students aren't there when they play their home games because they've graduated or they're gone. Like, I don't know how much promotion you can have when it comes to that.
Right. True finals are happening. In my opinion, university partnerships are beneficial for resources, not fan bases to start. And I've actually heard that whole partnership has not worked out quite as they had hoped. What could have been with the extreme? KFC Yum Center was the nicest arena I've been to in all my years traveling. And I just want to point out, look at the regional support that the UFL has gotten there in Louisville. Like, I think if that market had been done correctly, it would have been Tulsa before Tulsa ever came about. So
Oh, I have to see the IFL going to Louisville again. But
I hope they do. I mean, look, literally the head coach of the Louisville team that's finding all the success in the UFL was involved in the Louisville team that was in the IFL. So, like, they had everything at their fingertips for the same kind of success. And so I hope they do. I hope they go back.
Too extreme for the IFL.
But speaking of the IFL, we're going to hit a commercial break. We're going to transition over. There isn't a ton of like super in-depth topics we'll get to. It's primarily playoff picture now that some things are sewn up. With the games last night, we'll talk about those as well, and then we'll give picks, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up, hopefully right around the 9 a.m. mark on my time, so we can all get out of here before the 3-hour mark, which is the magic number for us here at the show. So stick with us. We still got a little bit left to go.
The mountains you climb, maybe stairs. The records you set, maybe personal. The fans you inspire, maybe family. No lights, no camera, just action. You don't have to be a pro. You just need HoneyStinger.
Also, a quick shout out to another sponsor that we do not have a commercial quite built for yet. High Tru Light, one of my friends here out in Colorado, has launched a permanent lighting business, who is now a sponsor of this network. So shout out to my guy, Brandon Merchant. If you are in Colorado and you are looking for permanent lighting for your house, highly recommend him. He's a great guy. I guarantee he will make you laugh the entire time he's installing lights on your house. Thank you to Brandon and High Tru Light. So we will definitely be working on getting him a commercial going here soon. But with that all being said, there are some playoffs to talk about. And as we spoke about earlier, San Diego has clinched the Western Conference first seed.
If you want to crown them, then crown their ass. But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
That's probably about what Tucson is saying after last night's game. They looked like they had San Diego on the ropes for the first couple, I want to say about the first quarter and a half. And then things flipped. And then next thing you know, San Diego ended up the victor by a couple points in it was a 40-37, I think it was. But ultimately, San Diego comes out
36 or 37, something like that.
Thank you. And ultimately, San Diego comes out the victor. Taylor, Coach TG out there in San Diego, strengthens his case for Coach of the Year. And ultimately, they clinched their first Western Conference first seed. So let's go ahead and get into it. Let's also talk about the other game that took place last night. So let's open up with the first game from last night before we get to San Diego's victory. So any thoughts on that game, Cody, while I get it pulled up?
Score some damn points.
I'm glad you said it.
I took the over in this one, and they looked good in the first half. They had us in the first half, not going to lie. 7 points in the second half total? I don't think anyone scored any points in the fourth quarter, if I'm not mistaken. I was trying to watch this game on the way back from a St. Louis Cardinals game, and I was just dumbfounded. Just like the defenses showed out, and I figured San Antonio's would, but Iowa was able to get a couple turnovers themselves and look decent. And at the end of the day, San Antonio still gets the victory, but my God, you have to look in the mirror if you're San Antonio. You had a 5-win season, which again, we'll talk about it, I'm sure, but like this was still not a good season for San Antonio. it was an even worse season for Iowa. And when you look at both of these teams for 2027, you have to sit there and shake your head and go, how do these teams get better? San Antonio's in a tough Western Conference. In the East, Iowa can make some noise if they can get the right players, if the coaches can develop, if they can get things going. But we've seen it year after year after year, whether it's been the first year of Andre Coles, whether it's been the last couple of years with Dave Mogensen, this team just does not have the resources in Des Moines to make it work. I'm sorry. And then with the head coaching changes that San Antonio has gone through, you either have to get lightning in the bottle for a season or figure out a way to do it when you go up against the likes of Vegas, San Diego, Arizona, things along those lines, because otherwise you're just going to keep rotating coaches like crazy if you think that you're going to get 8 wins and call it good, because you've got to hit the nail on the head with San Antonio.
Right. I mean, you pointed you speaking of hitting the nail on the head, you hit the nail on the head right there. Couple things that I wanted to talk about what you just pointed out. If you look right here at the scoring, there was 55 seconds left in the second quarter when Iowa scored. There was not another point scored until the very end of the fourth quarter, and it was basically a garbage time touchdown. So it was crazy to see how long this game went without a score. As much as I hate to say it, this game kind of epitomized how bad both of these teams.
Not to cut you off, that box score is wrong. There was a touchdown that started the third quarter to make it 27-26. It's not popping up there.
Well, thank you. That's right. I forgot about that. You are 100% right, and it even shows right there 20-26 and a mysterious 33-26. But my mistake. Regardless, there was almost 2 full quarters of no scoring. It was pretty rough to watch for quite a while there last night. It would seem like one team was driving and then there was a fumble or a turnover. The other team would get it, or they would, stop them right there and ultimately prevent any sort of points being scored. But for all the points that were not scored in this game, as mentioned before, San Diego's game had a lot more excitement to it, which we'll get that pulled up in just a second. But obviously, as mentioned before, Tucson kind of took an early lead in the San Diego game. Ultimately, by the end of the game, San Diego was able to make a pretty valiant comeback and win the game via some fourth quarter heroics. But this game also saw, I believe, did Nate Davis play at all?
No, I don't think so. I want to get Chris's comments on San Antonio.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so for first of all, for San Antonio, firing a coach before they coach their final game is like highly unprofessional, and that should not be a thing. Like, I don't like that at all. You know what I mean? Like letting a coach know, oh yeah, on a Monday before, or earlier, even before that, it's like bad. And on a podcast, like talking about how he's fired. I mean, think about it. Coach Bain is a young coach. Like, what does that do for his confidence? So I don't like that at all. I think it's completely inappropriate in my mind. But with San Antonio, their season was disappointing. They had a very talented football team. The offense wasn't good all year. It's because he tried to run an arena-style offense in the indoor game. I see what you're saying, but like even then, like, you see what I'm saying? Like it's still not okay. Like before the final game of the season, you wait till after. Like I think you should know that.
Unless there's a mutual parting of ways. Like if they brought him in last week and like, hey man, we're going to go in a different direction. He's like, okay, and then they put it out publicly. Then yeah, see, they mutually agree to part ways. So like if that's the case, we're like, hey, we're going to go in a different direction, and Jonathan Bain's like, all right, cool. Sorry it didn't work out. Then that's fine. I don't think it was anything where like they just called him and like, you're gone, like get out of here, and then we're going to post it publicly. Like I don't think they would have posted it publicly or talked about it on the podcast if they just said, yeah, you're done here. I think Jonathan Bain, once they gave his blessing, but was like, hey, it's okay to go on with this. Like you can say that we're done. Yeah.
But okay, so maybe this was but you see my point. The point stands is like, San Antonio was a talented team. So for them moving forward, whoever they want to hire as the head coach, they need to retain Malcolm Goins as defensive coordinator. He did an amazing job as a first-year coach. Very impressed with the work he did with that D-line and the defense all season long. So they need to retain him. On the other side, they need to hire an offensive-minded coach. So they should go after Peyton Riggs or Billy Back. Those should be those two options for them that I would go get, because Billy Back and Malcolm Goins, he coached with each other, and then Charles Williams, defensive lineman, played for him in Frisco. So they have that connection. So he would be a nice fit. And Peyton Riggs too, young guy, whatever. So for Iowa, you're 2-30 in the last 2 seasons. This falls on management. I have a lot of respect for Julie. I think she was thrown in a really difficult. I said Charles Williams, the defensive line coach. He played for Frisco. But he also, you don't coach the D-line like he has influence. Just like you had influence in the defense last year, even though you weren't listed as defense coordinator. Same thing, same idea, right? And this year too. So, you're not the defensive coordinator, but you stand on the field and call plays. So it's the idea that he was there. He played a leadership role, and I'm really impressed with the work he did. So that's about it, for me. And for Iowa, they're going to move forward with Andre Coles for 2027. And they need to give him more resources if they want to win, or if they want to continue to be a joke, then just continue to be a joke. That's it. That's all it is. It's a dumpster fire of a franchise. It's horrible.
That's a little bit rough to say. I think that they've coasted by on their notoriety for a while, and I think it's time that they definitely need to get to the point where they realize that you can't do that anymore. It's been a long time since your glory day. Let's invest some money. Let's go play, or let's let it go into the future, or into the past. But I wanted to address this comment real quick. If all you are going to do is talk negative about the AF1, then don't talk about it. Give us something good to talk about. That's my challenge to you.
What did we say that was wrong?
Kentucky isn't paying players. Beaumont's struggling.
Because we're reporting on what the players and coaches are already saying, whether it is Carl Robinson, whether it is Beaumont's coach, whether it is from Trey and off the wall, I'll shout him out with the Kentucky Barrels player. Like, we have firsthand experience of these guys. So we are reporting on what they are saying. So yes, if the coaches and players are going to speak negatively about their experiences, we will talk about that as well. So sorry about it. We did speak positively about the playoff games.
Right. And we also said that Minnesota, Nashville, Albany, Washington, all those teams do it right. And they're a great foundation for the league. But at the same time, at some point, you have to realize that's all you've got right now. Like, that as far as sturdy teams, that you don't have to concern yourself with not paying players, not housing players, stranding them in another state, making promises that aren't going to come to fruition.
Yeah,
like
Mike Lee just commented, positive or negative, just speak the truth. Realism is not negativism. Realism is realizing, hey, there will be good and bad, and you need to combat both. So yes, there are some negative things that goes along with the AF1, and you have to deal with that. But there's also some positives. Unfortunately, the negative outweigh the positive, because in a society where everyone says all the negative things first, no one cares about the positive, because you can get more clicks when you talk about the negative. I know we don't want to do that here on our show, but at the same time, if that's what's going to drive the comments, if that's what's going to drive everything like that, people are going to flock to that more than they do it. That's the reason why you watch the news.
I mean, for the record, we have sat here we were some of the biggest supporters of the AFL in 2024 of any media outlet. In 2025, as far as the AFL1 went, we were all in on them again. But the thing is, at some point, you have to understand patterns.
Yeah, exactly. Wild guys. Exactly. Wild guys, sat behind, like Jim sat behind the burner account. This is something I say all the time. A wise man once told me this, and I stand by it. And I tweet this all the time. Like, it's real. The truth has no emotion. You just have to really go with the facts. And I live by that, honestly. And the big thing is, like, while guys like Jim and Inside the Walls, all respect to Jim, that's my boy, but like, they were behind the burner account talking shit about the AFL. Like, we were interviewing the coaches, we were interviewing everyone, trying to give them a chance and a platform to show that. So
All right, back to our regular IFL scheduled programming.
Shit, yeah, honestly. That was a crazy comment. And that's either Gary Compton. I don't think Scott would do it on a burner account, so it might be Jason Lambert on a burner account. Those are the three
No,
people.
I don't think it's anybody
I
like
think
that.
honestly, it's a burner though. I really think
I doubt it is. I think it's probably legitimately a fan who may not know a lot of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. Because if you think about it, if you just follow the league, how are you going to know about any of this stuff? Because they don't talk about it.
So here's my theory. Their name is at AF1 fan 2004, so they're either born in 2004, so they're 22 years old, or they've been a fan of the AFL/AF1 since 2004, so they have to know a little bit. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to speculate. Let's talk about the Indoor Football League.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of, oh, sorry, that's the wrong game. My fault. Never mind, that is the right game. All right, so back to San Diego. As mentioned before, it was one of the things that I loved about last night's game. I actually at one point said, is San Diego giving this game to Tucson for a reason? Like, what's going on here? Granted, they did bench some of their starters to keep them healthy for the playoffs, obviously. But ultimately, they found a way to win, even with their backups playing most of the game in terms of their backup quarterback and stuff like that. So, I mean, let's talk about this game. What did you guys see last night from the Strike Force and really from Tucson as well, that shows you, what they're kind of made of as we go into the playoffs here? So let's go to Cody first. What were your takeaways from last night's game?
Well, the under hit, so I'm really happy about that. And when there was the huge run at like one of the final plays of the game that I thought he was going to score and ruin the under, and I was about to be so mad. I was going to pull a fire alarm, but no, this was a fun game. I mean, I didn't watch it in its entirety, but seeing the back and forth and everything going on, like you said, Tucson kind of came out, guns a-blazing, and then San Diego just was like, wait a minute, we're the number one team. And they just came out and kind of made a comeback, flexed their muscle a little bit and said, hey, we can beat you with our second stringers too. What's going to happen next week? We got to figure this out. I think one of the comments in the group chat was like, is Tucson showing too much right now? Because these two teams will meet next week. It's something I talked about in my previews. How much do these two teams want to show each other for next week? Is there going to be new game plans? Is there going to be new wrinkles? What are we going to do when it comes to that? Because I am excited to see how this is going to go. And I don't know, San Diego just proved again that you can underestimate them, as I have done for years, and I need to stop doing that apparently. But they've proven themselves, man. I got to start myself personally and other people too. They got to start putting some shine on San Diego because they are here for the long haul. I thought they'd just be a flash in the pan, but for 3 seasons now, they have been nothing short of spectacular.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said this off the wall. I bet the over for the Iowa and San Antonio game because San Antonio throws the ball all over the game, all over the field. And on top of that, it was like 72 points, right? So I was like,
yes.
what are the chances?
Yep.
So
no, I thought the same thing. I thought the over would hit in that game because I figured Iowa's defense has been kind of porous, and I figured that San Antonio's offense should be throwing the ball around. I know San Antonio's defense is a little bit better, but at the same time, I figured Iowa could hold up their end of the bargain and score at least 30. And neither team decided to do that. So another week of neither team scoring 40 points. Imagine that.
Exactly. But let's get to these picks. Let me transfer over to the DraftKings page.
Oh, obviously my thoughts. So San Diego, that shows the future for them. They think Kyle Kelly's the future. I think he's beyond an elite runner and an athlete. Like, he's insane, and he was like that at Ball State too. But what he struggles with is turnovers, right? And his ability to develop as a passer. So if he comes back next year, they need to sign someone else to compete with him for that starting quarterback job. And I would go after Anthony Garrett, like Cody said, or James Cahoon, or someone that fits that passing style.
Do you just kind of think Kyle Kelly's just a Rudy Johnson 2.0? Because we said the same thing about him as well, where it's like he's not accurate as a passer, but he can sure as hell run the damn ball.
I do, and I think he's great on special teams. He plays hard. He's a very dynamic player.
Yeah.
Very dynamic.
I like him a lot. I think he is. I think he's going to be a great option for San Diego.
The other quarterback that started last night with Dwan Mathis. He started his career at University of Georgia, went to Troy, went to a Temple. He went to a small school in Michigan, back home, D2 school. He showed a lot last night too. I thought he played great. So.
Great. Sorry about that. Now we have the true lines up. So let's go ahead and run through this and give some picks. I'll go ahead and go to Krish first on this one.
Yeah, so for Tulsa and Quad City, I like the over 85.5. Last week, the over barely hit. It was really close. It's in Quad City this time. Quad City's a pretty easy arena to hit deuces in my opinion. So Axel Perez, I think we'll get 3 or 4 deuces, and the over will hit. Both teams will score. Northern Arizona, Vegas. What a disgusting game to bet on. I might not be betting this. Trey, I know you bet the over. I would love to hear your explanation on that. Vegas just signed a new defensive lineman, Luis Medina from Troy. He's a all Sun Belt player, really talented, 150 tackles in his 4 seasons down at that university. Josh Tomas is activated off season IR for them. So this is the first time we'll see Tomas and Wimbush together, which will be crazy. Northern Arizona not going to be able to stop that. Also, Mike Davis had never won 12 regular season games in his IFL career, ever, even with Nebraska. So give me Vegas minus 16.5 for that reason. Orlando, oh man, this is crazy. Biggest game of the week, man. Biggest game of my life.
He's taking Fishers.
No, honestly, like we put ourselves in this position. I told one of our guys this week, man, we dug the hole. Now we got to climb out of it. You know what I mean? We should have beat Green Bay. We should have beat Tulsa, but we can't live in the past. We have to live in the present. I think we're a better team than Indy. We got Henry Nell back, Money Nell. We got Ezekiel Rose back from Kentucky. So I think we'll be able to stop the run. It'll be a really good game. It'll come down to the wire. Give me Orlando money line. Give me Orlando plus 4.5 at the safest bet on the board. And the over is high. I hope you're talking about your game. 100%. Northern Arizona will definitely, it'll be a long game for them. Anthony Garrett's also injured too, so he posted on his Instagram story, so he's out. And
Krish, the Instagram reporting. I love it.
Out too. That's the only way. I mean, 100%. I can't even disagree with that. So
definitely agree with that. They definitely have been wonderful.
What do we got? Green Bay,
Jacksonville.
Give me
He's
that's
just
hard. I like the under, man. That's a high number. Under.
She's just trolling at this point.
Yeah, no doubt. Don't feed into it, Krish. He won't stop.
No, I honestly agree. I think he'll blow Northern Arizona out. I agree. We should have beat a lot of teams, but
look, Green Bay is probably I'm just gonna say Green Bay is probably the most complete team in the league this year.
100%.
They're a really, really good team. There's a reason why they've been beating some teams. But Cody, why don't you go ahead and give your pick, sir?
Yeah, let's go for it. Very first game, Tulsa and Quad City. I'm gonna just take Tulsa on the money line. My reasoning why is I don't know if I want to go over under on this, and the reason why is because of what they did last week to what they did this week. Now, Tulsa is still in a fight for a home playoff game because there's a whole bunch of funky playoff scenarios that are going on here. So Tulsa, if they win and Jacksonville loses, they move into that number 2 spot. They host a home playoff game. So I know Tulsa's going to go balls to the walls with this one. Quad City's eliminated. So I'm curious to see how Quad City comes out. Do they still want to be competitive? Are they going to – I don't know if they want to play upset and spoiler and be like, hey, we're going to give you everything we got. Not trying to be like, hey, this team's going to quit. But at the same time, we know Tulsa's going to play at a higher capacity because they want that home playoff game. Is Quad City going to match that energy? We'll see. But give me minus 205. I don't like taking anything minus 200 or longer, but for this, I'll do it just because it's right there at that threshold. I don't trust the spread either because I can see multiple times where Tulsa can win by a touchdown. I can see Quad City covering. So give me money line for Tulsa. Northern Arizona, Vegas, give me under 92.5. Anthony Garrett is hurt. I do not know if I necessarily trust DeMarcus Bryant to be the quarterback to go. Marlon Cook is also hurt on that wide receiving core for the Wranglers. Karan Ashley is great. How much of that running game are they going to establish with Nolan Susil and Ben Omayabu? I'm not sure. Vegas, Josh Tomas is back, but how much are they going to start? Do they start Crittenden? Do they, they're going to start Tomas or Wimbush? Is this going to be the game where Tomas gets some carries and kind of gets back into the swing of things? Who do they sit and bench on the wide receiving core? How do they go about it? We'll kind of see how it goes. So give me the under 92.5 on that one. Orlando and Fishers. My first thought, my first inclination is Fishers is the home team. I want to kind of go with them. Orlando's defense leaves a lot to be desired, but that's kind of in the passing realm and not necessarily in the rushing realm. So Orlando might have a little bit of an edge on that. This one is going to be a fun game. I got to go with Fishers being the home team, but again, I can easily see Orlando pulling out a victory in this one. I can. If they can shut down the running game, then Fishers are going to have a tough time. But I do think Fishers has an opportunity here. If they squander it, Orlando's right back in the playoffs like a one-year hiatus. And then finally, Green Bay and Jacksonville. Again, Jacksonville trying to play for that home playoff game too in that number 2 seed. Green Bay's already got it locked up. So I'm curious to see how Green Bay goes about it. Are they going to sit Liam Thompson and start Cole Stenstrom? Who are they going to kind of rest? Because they know that they are hosting a playoff game. They know that they're the number 1 seed. What did they go through? And it's kind of that same thing with Quad City. Do they match the energy of Jacksonville? Do they want to go through that intensity? They're on the road. We'll kind of see how it goes. And if it is dollar beer night in Moline, crash a couple cans for me because I wish I could be there. My family's up there celebrating my brother's birthday. So happy birthday, Steve. Hope you're watching. But yeah, for Green Bay and Fishers, give me under 95.5. I don't know if these two teams are going to show too much, knowing the playoffs are right around the corner. We'll just keep hitting the unders for all of it.
I think Jacksonville money line is the best bet on the board for that. And
you think so?
Yeah, just because they're playing for more. But that could be.
I mean, yeah, it very well could be. And again, it all depends on, does Green Bay come out and say, hey, we're not going to do rest versus rust. We're going to start all of our number 1s and go from there. Or they're like, screw it. We're going to have Jacksonville be the number 2 seed. We'll kind of lie down a little bit and start Stenstrom and go like that. I don't know. We'll see.
Give me some stuff to think about for my bets here. I picked both winners last night, ironically, so that worked out well for me. However, like I said, I picked the under in the San Antonio game and ultimately did not win that one. I picked money line on every other game, but I think after listening to Cody talk, I am going to end up betting on the under for Northern Arizona and Vegas. I picked Tulsa, Vegas, Fishers, and Green Bay this week. If I'm being honest, Fishers primarily because they're the home team. I picked Green Bay because I just think they're the best team in football right now. From an overall standpoint, they are a very complete team. Liam Thompson's playing really well. As far as Vegas and Northern Arizona, I don't need to rehash the reasons everybody said before. That's a blowout waiting to happen. Tulsa and Quad City, I think, is a really close game. I think it's going to be a really good game, and I could see Quad City winning that one. I just honestly took the favorite in that one because Tulsa's been rolling as of late, and they're headed to the playoffs. So I mean, they should be a good team. So
Arizona, Vegas, yeah, that's such a weird game.
It's a unfortunate game to end the season with because it's.
You don't have to bet on everything though, but like I have to. You know what I mean? Man, hey Cody, you cost me so much money last night. Probably $20. I watched your whole preview, and you had me thinking. I took the over, and I took the San Antonio -10. So
I didn't bet San Antonio -10, man. I told you in my preview I could see Iowa covering. And when I gave my score prediction, Iowa was covering in that. I will guarantee that.
Oh, no, you know what I did? I took one of yours and one of Trey's off the wall.
There you go. Because like I said, I bet the over. I bet the over, and yeah, that sucked because I was getting score updates when I was at the Cardinals game, and I was like, okay, we're right on pace. We've only got like 27 points to go, and we're still in the first half. We got 20 points to go. We just started the third quarter, and then nothing for the rest of the game. And I was so bummed on the freaking metro train all the way back to the hotel room. I was just like, this is bumming me out, man. So yeah, I'll eat crow on that one. That sucks. I thought both teams would start slinging the ball around a little bit because, as I said in a different group chat, I got something where like, oh, they're just heaving it deep and hoping that they can throw a touchdown. I'm like, well, we're wasting enough time that's going to be the only play calls that they have. So,
yeah, Coach D, unless you're an Ottawa Red Blacks fan, the over wouldn't apply to you.
Also, talk about my Red Blacks here. Okay, that's blasphemy.
I'm changing my
another
pick.
trash.
I'm changing my pick as a day one Orlando Pirates fan. I'm going to take Orlando money line. No, that's not even a joke. I'm not even trying to convince myself or anything. I think somehow, some way, I think that Orlando Devil Magic will rear its ugly head again.
I'm excited, man.
Orlando Devil Magic.
Both coaches are under a lot of pressure. I love, Rod Windsor. I hope he's our leader going forward, but he understands, leadership, there's a price that comes with leadership, and so you got to pay the price tomorrow. And same thing with Dixie Wooten, man. He feels the pressure too.
Well, at least I know this now, and I can win some money while watching my team lose.
So you're saying that we should bet the under in the Vegas game because they're two former CFL coaches going at it, Coach Davis and Coach Higgins, right? No?
All I'm realizing is how much of a degenerate gambler Mike Davis is if he's betting on the CFL the entire time.
What are you trying to say? I bet on the CFL every week too.
You're a degenerate gambler as well.
Betting very small.
I was betting on the IFL, bro. Betting on the IFL is as DJ as you can get.
I was betting on European basketball when Kansas legalized betting. Stop it.
Have you? What was it on there?
It takes one to know one.
Isn't there like the Tokyo Baseball League on DraftKings or something like that?
Oh yeah, there's stupid stuff like that. There's like darts.
But everyone needs a part-time job. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to get better at it so I don't have to have a part-time job anymore. But
honestly, you could legitimately make a living. Any of us, any three of us could make a living betting IFL.
Oh, I can.
Honestly, though, we could.
Well, as long as you're giving out the picks as the most accurate, better than.
No, I've been missing this season, man. Sometimes
you just said you're the most accurate.
No, this season I'm Michael Jordan had off years too, so it's fine.
So we got the Washington Wizards, Krish.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Exactly. Post retirement and post comeback.
But I mean, that is true. Yeah, they will cap it. But
they cap the IFL.
They have to. I mean, if you win a certain amount, the betting companies will, they cap it. They're like that. Like it's really like that.
Yeah, they will, because they'll think there's something nefarious going on. You can spend all your money on like the NFL or any of the big four, but they will cap you on some of the smaller stuff.
That's lame. But
I guess my final question for you guys before we, end it for the day is who do we think gets the San Antonio job and the Austin job?
I'm going to decline to comment on this one.
Wow.
I think that there might be some other reasons why Dane was let go. So I don't know that there will be another coach, but we'll see.
But I have a question though. If you're Bane, right, and hypothetically you interview for other jobs, what's your selling point? Right? What do you sell? Do you have an answer for that? Because I am kind of.
The pictures that I was thinking about.
Wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't report unbiased, and from everything I've heard, there are some concerns there. So I'm not going to go any further than that.
I think San Antonio. I mean, they have some of the best ownership, that city has ever seen. So I love San Antonio team.
No, it's not I'm glad to hear it. I hope that's the case because obviously, as mentioned before, San Antonio is a great ownership group, and it was never a question of if they have the money to do it. It's a question of motivation is what I was hearing. But when did I report they were going to the AAL? Please clip that and send it to me because I never said that, my friend. I said some surprising teams could end up in the AAL, and I did mention San Antonio specifically, but I also mentioned a ton of teams during that segment, if I remember correctly. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like I said, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. You of all people know, I will admit it if I'm wrong. I'm happy to. We'll see. Like I said, I haven't confirmed it, so that's why I declined to comment. But Cody, do you have any thoughts on the coaching opening?
So I remember when they hired Tom Manas, they said that someone that coaches the Gunslingers has to have like a very high Christian value, and they like honor that very highly. So if they hire someone, they have to be a man of God. And I don't really know enough about any of the coaches or any of the short lists or anything like that that could kind of pertain to it, because I know that they take that stuff very seriously down there. So, God, I don't know. Because like I said, I've talked about it in the group chat. I'll talk about it here. Like the fact that they let Manas go, the fact that they didn't retain Fuller, and the fact that they're letting Jonathan Bain go all within just a couple of seasons, it doesn't bode well for San Antonio. And that's not to be like, oh, they're folding or they're doing like that's starting to look like, well, is ownership going to take control? Are we looking at what are we looking at when it comes to players, resources? Because again, I remember at one point San Antonio said that they're going to build their own not indoor facility, but indoor like training facility or something.
They do. They have one.
They do? Oh,
yeah.
They already did. Okay.
Oh, it's amazing. Bro, they got like hot tubs, cold tubs, everything.
Okay. I didn't know if they already built it or not. But that's the point I'm trying to make though, is like if they've got all of these resources for it, is it something where they're looking just for a yes man coach because the ownership already has all this stuff in place? I don't know. So like I said, whoever it is, I wish them all the best because your leash probably is going to be short.
Let me just take a moment to address this comment right there.
Yes, very amazing.
They should throw the house at him. They should, and I hope they're listening to this when I say this, because I mean, why wouldn't you want him? 2+ decades of college coaching background, a winning record as an indoor football coach, fresh off a championship win. He looks the part in terms of a coach that you want with professionalism, how he treats people, how he builds rosters, et cetera, et cetera. Hell yeah, they should throw the house at him. Honestly, I'd say the same thing about you. If they thought there was a chance in hell that you would leave Vegas, they should throw everything they possibly can at you. There's certain coaches that just make sense.
No, not at him, at Coach Chin. Obviously.
Coach Chin too.
No, Coach Chin. Yeah, Coach Davis would never leave.
Did you even listen to what I just said?
If there was any chance in hell, but there's no chance. So
so that's what I'm saying. Like if they thought there was the slightest sliver of a possibility he might consider it, they should make that offer.
But Coach Thomas is already going to be coaching New Mexico. He's already going to be coaching San Antonio, and the AAL is going to be coaching Austin. He's going to be coaching the Oregon Lightning 2.0. We already know he's going to be coaching everywhere else.
Right. He's also named the head coach of Chris's flag football team.
If anything, he signed so many Pirates players. We might as well get him a hammock in Orlando. He can sleep, on that, and we can save money on housing and get him as coach. So
who?
Coach Davis. Yeah, I'm telling you, he would never leave. They should go after Coach Chin. I would throw anything to get rid of Chin. Anything, if I was them, anything.
100% agree.
Destroy Vegas from the inside.
The 100 bands, the car, everything, the house, everything. Like, give it to Coach Chin.
Could say the same thing about Rod Miller too. He would be a good option.
But he was already there.
Yeah, I know. So I know. And I'm not saying that's my point.
Sometimes you have to go back to go forward.
So since we're on this heated discussion, Why do you think Coach Thomas leaves? I know you and the NAL people are, trying to hold on to him with their life. Do you think he leaves Southwest? Because I do.
It all depends. I don't think he leaves.
Hey, there he is.
Personally, I'm glad he decided to tune in. Coach Thomas, are you planning on leaving? No, I don't think he leaves. I've talked about it at length here. He lives in Dodge. He's got a lot of stuff going on there. You'd have to throw an unrealistic number at him, I would imagine. But at the same time, is there an ownership group out there that thinks that he's an improvement? Yeah, probably. In fact, there's probably multiple teams out there that think, hey, that guy would definitely run our program the way we want, and it's a matter of if they've got the resources to make it make sense for him. But yeah, like I just said, if I'm San Antonio, if I'm New Mexico, if I'm Austin, I think I have a lot of coaches that are on my wish list. Whether or not they would come is a different story.
See, and that's how you know Mike Davis knows what he's talking about, because 3% is the NFL number. So that's how he knows. 3%. He'll get Coach Thomas will get an IFL job. Don't worry.
So we now figured out what Coach Davis's second job is now. It's serving as Coach Thomas's agent.
Yep.
Well, now
it should be good, man. When Coach Thomas gets a job, I'll be heavily supportive of him. I want him to leave Southwest Kansas. I pray for that.
My question is, why are we so hip on him leaving?
I think it'll be good for his health. A change of scenery. You need to grow as a professional. So he needs to leave.
Yeah, leave. Get out of here.
Bro, the NAL is
go on, get.
It's too easy.
Go on, get. You're not wanted here.
Well, I mean, if he's got your stamp of approval, that's all it takes, right? The people are going to back up the Brinks trucks tomorrow, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's going to be a lot of storylines.
And don't worry, man. You're part of that luggage. You won't get left behind in Dodge like your car did. So,
okay, that was a low blow. Low blow.
It wasn't Dodge. It was Garden City. Come on.
Yeah, the car was in Garden City. Jeez. Clearly a whole nother 50 miles away. But, yeah.
I'm surprised you – I know we're, way past the time, but what about Fred Elliott? His masterful reporting on Austin. No? Do you believe that? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we can get into that. Yeah, Fred Elliott made a post last night that said the IFL should re-vet the ownership group for the Austin IFL expansion franchise. And obviously, he seems to think there's a reason for that. There's a bunch of comments on stuff. I, to be honest, have not looked that long at the post, so I have not read all the comments or anything like that. But, I mean, Krish, you wanted to comment on it, so I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like Fred. He's a good guy. He's been on a bit of a cold streak lately. His love affair with the Austin, Texas Bulls. And now this piece of information, I believe he's being fed information by Chris Wallace, a well-known Vegas scam artist, and other people in the Austin Bulls organization that try to take down the IFL Austin organization. That's what he's being fed. And so he's taking that information and posting it. And I don't believe it's accurate at all. So try to make someone look bad for someone else's benefit. It's kind of some backdoor shit. And Fred, all I'll say to you, man, is you've done it in the past. If you have receipts, post it. Post it. Because I want to see.
Yeah, that came out of left field for me as well. I've heard some questions about the team, but nothing to the point where we need to be concerned yet. So we'll see what happens. But Cody, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have thoughts one way or the other. Like I said, you will find out when it, succeeds or fails. Now, are there questions, and like what Sam just said, are there questions and concerns? Sure. There's a lot of, radio silence behind it compared to what Athens is doing, and name the team, do this, do that. And okay, cool. And Athens looks like it's, that next coming of a Tulsa or a Vegas, or like, hey, You guys give your input. We want to see what the fans want. Meanwhile, Austin's like, here's our team name. This is us. Here's our AI generated website. This. You get no say. So for me, yeah, there's some red flags and some raising of the eyebrows going, what's going on here? But if that's what the ownership group wants to do, they are well within their rights to do it. And again, we'll see if it succeeds. We'll see if it fails. There are some questions, but at the same time, if they're vetted by the Indoor Football League, that gives me a little bit of credence towards it. We'll see how it goes.
I'll put my nuts on the table when I say this. The IFL wouldn't let any owner in. They've done that with Louisville. After Louisville, everything's been clean. We can criticize the league for every little thing, but that's because they're so good at the major things, So I just feel like this Austin team will be fine. The Austin Bulls will not be fine because they don't have an arena to play in. So, they're talking about the Moody Center. Moody Center is $93,000 a night. That no AF1 team is paying $93,000 a night to pay. That's like the LA Kicks arena is. The State Farm place that they played in back in the day. So
$93,000 a night. Is that a real number? Did you just pull that out of the clouds?
Last night, 93.
Well, that's the one that's on the campus of Texas, right?
Yeah, that's where they did the.
That's where the Austin Wranglers used to play at the Frank Irwin Center.
That's freaking wild. We're talking about like $900,000 a year just for home games. Like, yeah, no way.
Respectfully, like Chris Wallace can't even get 7 NFL uniforms right. How is he going to pay that much?
Yeah. All right. Anyway, that doesn't sound right. That sounds more than Kia Center.
I thought that was your boy. Never mind.
I'll say that number definitely doesn't sound right, considering that it's a college campus arena compared to the Kia Center and other indoor, like NBA, NHL, all of those things. Like, I think if I remember correctly, Tulsa was spending $60,000 per game. Now, don't quote me on that, because when I went to Tulsa now a couple months back, that's what they kind of told me is they're spending $60,000 a night. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're spending. It could be 9,300, but I don't know. It's weird. We'll see.
Whatever it is, we hope every team is successful, like we said earlier. But we got to be realistic, and we.
Well, don't backpedal. I'll call you out a little bit if you're going to sit there and be like, well, whatever it is. Like, you're the one making the claim for 93,000, man. So,
it's 93,000.
Okay. Then you got.
Okay.
Okay, like I said, I'm not gonna like bookmark it or be like I told you so, but like you can't just sit there and be like, well, whatever it is. Come on, man.
I'll have my receipts ready for post show, so don't worry.
All right, yeah, get those receipts ready. Have them ready for next week. We'll see you guys right back here Saturday, 8 a.m. Eastern time, 6 a.m. Mountain time, 7 a.m. Cody's time. So we got all the time zones covered except for Pacific time, because if you're waking up at 5 a.m. to watch indoor football stuff, you might be a little bit more nuts than me. So good for you if you are. I'm just saying. But on that note, we'll catch you guys next week. Love this show. Thank you all for being here this morning. We've had over 70 live viewers at one point. Lots to talk about this morning. So
pretty good for a show that doesn't double check their information. So, thank you for all the loyal supporters. Right.
93,000.
Hi, everyone. This is TJ from Shady Sports Network. I am excited and proud to be the first one to announce that we as a network are introducing a digital magazine, official one called Shady Sports Magazine. As many of you know, the bread and butter of our network is covering arena and indoor football, and that's exactly what this magazine is going to be about. It is going to be the first ever arena and indoor football central magazine, all the leagues included. You're going to also have a bunch of articles in there about past teams, going down memory lane, It's just going to be a one-stop shop for the already diehard fan. It's going to be an easy spot to get all of your info, no matter which league or however many of the leagues you may watch. And for the new fan or the casual fan, it may help you turn into a diehard fan now, because you're going to be able to get all the info super quick and easy, sent directly into your email. We will announce in the upcoming weeks when the inaugural issue is going to be released. And believe me, we will definitely keep you updated on our shows and network as a whole on how to sign up for that list to get it. Email for free every month. Thank you to the fans, and thank you for everyone watching. As always, like, follow, share, subscribe, and most important, enjoy the show and keep watching. Thank you, and see you guys later.